Hey, everybody. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Onnit.com, O-N-N-I-T. We are a human optimization website, and what we sell at Onnit is strength and conditioning equipment, supplements, healthy snacks, all different things that can help improve your body, including, as of today, the new Werewolf Legend Kettlebell. We have these new Legend Series kettlebells. If you've seen the other ones before, the Great Apes kettlebells and the Zombie kettlebells, we just came out with the newest one, the Legend bells, and it's it's pretty fucking awesome. It's a 28 kilogram werewolf. So what is that? 54 pounds or something like that? What is that? How does that work?
2.2, 20.
More than that. 60 pounds? Must be 60.
It's close to 60.
Something like that.
Yeah, right on 60.
Is it? 62 pounds.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, we suck at metric system. Remember when they tried to push that shit? Do you remember?
Yeah.
The high school days?
For sure.
They were like, it's the future. Fuck you, it is. We got the bombs, bitch. Inches, pounds.
It's a kilo.
Go fuck yourself. Kilograms. Anyway, the new one that just came in stock is Werewolf, the 62-pound Werewolf, and we have a bunch of other ones that are on the way. Maybe a Bigfoot. I'm not going to lie to you. Might be coming. All the kettlebells that we have, though, we have regular ones, you know, if you're not into fancy shit, that are just standard kettlebells, and then the primal bells and the legend bells, the zombie bells, all those are 3D mapped, and what that means is they're not just good looking, they're very functional. They're designed so that they're completely balanced out. So when you're lifting them, there's no weird balance points. If you have ever worked out with kettlebells before, it's essentially like a bowling ball with a handle on it, and it's all about using your entire body as one individual unit to promote what they call functional fitness. What that means is, you know, like if you just do bicep curls, that's great for doing bicep curls, but it's not going to necessarily help you run up a hill. It's not necessarily going to help you be able to do things physically, carry things better. What I'm concerned with and the kind of things that we sell at Onnit are all things that promote functional strength, complete body coordination strength, things that improve athleticism. So if you're involved in a sport, if you are doing martial arts or something along those lines, this is, in my opinion, the best strength and conditioning type workout you could ever do. We also sell all kinds of foods and supplements, including the new Warrior Bar that is organic buffalo, 14 grams of protein, 140 calories, super healthy for you. No bullshit in it, no MSG, no soy, no lactose, no antibiotics or added hormones. 14 grams of protein and 140 calories with 4 grams of fat per serving. Excellent for runners, climbers, you know, anybody that wants to keep something that's really healthy and small, pack it, keep it with you. You can't get any better than these Warrior Bars. I fucking love these things. I seriously go through a box of them a week. We also hemp protein powder, the new Hemp Force bars, which are excellent as well. All this stuff's available at Onnit.com. That's O-N-N-I-T. Use the code word Rogan, and you will save 10% off any and all supplements. We're also brought to you by DraftKings.com. What's that word?
DraftKings.
Need more coffee. That's what happens when I come here after I work out. My brain's like, what's going on? Why are we talking? DraftKings.com is the newest sponsor, and if you're one of those dorks like Jamie over here who's into fantasy football, I see dorks we all love, my friend. Hey, easy. We were in Denver, and Jamie was in a panic. The kid was in a tizzy because he couldn't get online with his phone to make his choices for his fantasy football league. And him and his friends, they're so serious about this shit that they had to reset. You guys reset, right? You reset the whole draft.
They did it later, and I had to miss it.
So you got fucked the second time.
I got super fucked.
Okay, they got fucked the first time, and then you got fucked the second time.
Yes.
That's bullshit. You got it first.
I'm pushing for a redraft right now.
I agree with you. I say we promote it on the podcast. But what he's doing is just bullshit. What DraftKings.com is doing, DraftKings.com, you can actually win money. Now, this is going to sound ridiculous. One player on DraftKings.com turned $11 into $4,000 in one weekend. Another guy won $100 grand. $100 fucking grand. The first time ever playing. Now, ready for this? One player won a fucking $1 million in one day playing fantasy football. That sounds like I'm lying to you. I don't believe it, but I know it's true.
It's definitely true.
I know it's true, but I'm reading that. I'm like, what? You can make a fucking $1 million in a day playing fantasy football. It almost makes me want to play fantasy football. Almost. But I can't do it. I can't I can't dig that deep into the dork drawer. But if I could, I would do it at DraftKings.com. God damn. If you're into that kind of stuff, man, this is the fucking place for you. DraftKings.com has it wired. You can win huge cash this week. I might do it. You know, we should do it once. We should do it. I should set up. Will you help me?
I've got one.
Okay. You need to help me. You need to help me. I don't know who plays good. Is that guy good? I would just. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'll just go for all the black guys.
That's
the biggest, blackest guys. the strongest.
Also, great strategy.
Is that a good move?
For the NFL, that'll work.
That's all they do, right?
Yes.
Is that what they do?
Yeah.
They seem to be better at it. There's like white linebackers that are good, right?
Oh, there's a couple.
One.
I'm writing this piece because of the whole John Jones racism thing. I'm writing this whole piece about how when I was a kid, I used to root for white guys. It's totally true. I used to root for Jerry Cooney. Ray Mercer fucking cured me of that shit. When he beat the fuck out of Tommy Morrison, I'm like, I'm so done. We're only trying to root for white guys. It just doesn't work out. Anyway, where was I? DraftKings.com. You can win fucking big cash, really big cash. Hurry and get a free entry into the Millionaire Maker event, where oh, this is so crazy. The Millionaire Maker event, first place takes home $1 million. That's crazy.
I'm working on that.
That's how you do it, though. You're gonna quit, huh? If you win $1 million bucks, will you quit?
I would never.
Okay, good. I'll give you a raise even if you win $1 million bucks. How about that?
I'll take it.
Head over to DraftKings.com right now and enter the promo code Rogan to play free to become a millionaire. Could you imagine if you won a fucking $1 million by going to DraftKings.com right now using the promo code Rogan for free and you win $1 million bucks? DraftKings.com. Bigger events, bigger winnings, bigger millionaires. Enter Rogan for free entry now at DraftKings.com. That's draft, D-A-R-A-F-T, Kings.com. If you don't know how to spell Kings, fuck off. Anyway, and last but not least, is that it?
Ting.
Oh, Ting. We're brought to you by Ting. Ting is the official provider, the official cell phone provider for this podcast. And I have a Ting phone. I have it right here. It's the Samsung Galaxy S5. And my bill just came in. This is the first month of the official use. My bill was $18. That shit's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The average bill is, mine's below the average bill because I don't really call anybody. I just text. But the average bill is $21. $21 for a monthly bill. What Ting is a cell phone provider that uses a Sprint backbone. So they rent time on Sprint, but then they do it entirely their way. No contracts, no early termination fees, no packages or bundling fees or any of that bullshit, no overage fees, and you only pay for what you use. Instead of having like a fixed bill every month where it's like, you know, whatever, you get 100 minutes for $50 or whatever the fuck it is. Instead of doing that, it's not that cheap though, right? No, nobody's that cheap.
No.
Whatever it is. Instead of having 100 minutes, if you had it like that and you only used 80 minutes, they're not giving you your money back for that 20 minutes that you didn't use. But with Ting, you only pay for what you use. If you use your phone if you use your phone once in a month, you're going to have the most ridiculously small bill ever. If you use it every day, it'll be slightly larger, but it'll definitely be smaller than any other provider you're going to use it with. 98% of people would save money with Ting. That's pretty crazy. And again, we're talking about the Sprint backbone. So it's just like you have a phone on Sprint. You get the exact same coverage, including 4G, and all. They have all, if you go to Ting, Rogan.ting.com, they have all the latest cell phones, including what I have, which is the Samsung Galaxy S5, which I like it a lot. It's pretty fucking dope. And it's waterproof. They call it water resistant. I think that's legalese. And it's because there's a little tab here on the bottom, and if you pop that tab, I guess water could get in there and you're fucked. But if you close that bitch up, like, it's not that hard to do, then it's waterproof.
Yeah, you can put it in a sink or something like that.
Oh, yeah, you can throw it in the pool. It's good for like a half an hour at the bottom of the pool. I'm not trying that, but if you did. It also has one of those thumbprint things. Press it here and slide that bitch up, and it recognizes your thumbprint. I like it. I love it. The screen's fucking awesome. And finally, Apple came aboard. And I'm sure Ting will be carrying the Apple phones, the new iPhones, once they have them, once they get them in stock. But like for right now, you can get the Samsung. We can get a bunch of different ones. You can even go old school if you want. If you're a cheap fuck, you can get the Samsung Galaxy S2 for $95. And I have one of those. That was my first Ting phone. It's a good phone. It's not a bad phone at all. You can get an iPhone 4 if you're a cheap fuck. You can get that for $137, or you can get an iPhone 5 for $250. Can't go wrong, and it's yours. You own it. That's it. There's no contracts. Meaning, when you buy a phone with most providers, what you're doing is you're paying, like if a phone, like if you go to, you know, fill in the blank, whatever major provider, and you buy a phone that says the phone's $300. It's not really $300. It's probably $600, and the other $300 you have to pay over the course of your contract. So if you don't get cell phone service in your house and you're like, this sucks, I want to cancel and go with another brand, you can't do it, because if you do cancel it, you owe them $300. It's kind of annoying, and you don't think about it while you do it. You just think, oh, that's $300, but it's not. With Ting, they don't have any of that bullshit. If you buy the phone, you have it, it's yours. If you want to cancel, you just cancel. That's it. Rogan.ting.com. Go there, save yourself $25 off of any of their fantastic devices. All right, that's it. Tim Burnett from Solo Hunter is here. Why fuck around, Jamie? Cue the music.
Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
So, over the last couple of years, I've really gotten into hunting. I went on my first hunting trip with Steve Rinella and started watching a lot of hunting TV shows. Well, I've kind of always watched a lot of them, but your show really stood out. And this is a show, you guys on the Outdoor Channel?
Outdoor Channel.
Outdoor Channel. It's called Solo Hunter, and you go out there, you and I've seen the ones with Remy Warren as well, and by yourself, just bring cameras, go to these remote locations, hike in, set up the cameras, and you're using your own cameras. You're like setting up the shots while you're aiming. Like you're getting ready to shoot the animals, and you're setting everything. Like you've got like crane, little handheld things here and GoPros, and it's got to make it very difficult.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's a pain.
To not just get out there and you know, hunting is difficult enough. Creeping up on animals, stalking, getting into position is difficult enough. But I would imagine that being your own cameraman makes it, I mean, what's the 50% harder, 100% harder?
You know, the hunting part of it is the same. You're still hunting, and actually it makes me a better hunter because I find that I'm a lot more patient and a lot more relaxed about it and more deliberate in my hunting. So it's not just like, oh, I got a rifle, like all I got to do is get within 400 yards. It's like, no, I got a rifle and I got a camera and I got this. So I feel like I hunt better, but the actual success rate of killing and getting it on film and that kind of thing, it's a lot harder. Yeah.
Is it like, would you say like you're like half as successful this way?
No, I mean, no, I don't think it's affected my success rate on actually harvesting an animal, but
it just makes it more difficult.
It makes it more difficult to do, and it's a hassle. It's not a hassle. I mean, it's what I do, but it's like it's hard. It makes it to where it's not just a hunt anymore. It's a hunt that I'm trying to document. And then now, when you look at it and you're trying to actually produce something good that people are going to want to watch instead of whatever, then you're putting more thought into producing it than you are the hunting part of it. And then it's like, well, crap, now I'm not a very good hunter because I'm a good producer. So you have this constant dilemma. You can tell I'm already tore up about it, but it's like you have this constant back and forth between yourself. It's like, screw it, today I'm just going to hunt, man. I'm not going to touch a camera. And then halfway through the day, I'm like miserable because nothing's going on. I'm like, I don't even have anything to show for it. Well, it's stupid. Turn on the cameras. You'll have something to show for it. So
right. Do you, it's kind of, it's a tricky way to do a television show, and you do all the producing yourself. Do you do all the film editing, all that jazz?
Yeah, I do all the editing. That's just kind of my thing for it, and I like it because I can get more emotionally invested into it, and I feel like it can come out different. But I'm not the best editor out there. I'm just the one that happens to edit that show because I'm a low budget guy. And when I started out, it wasn't even ready. It wasn't time yet. You know,
how long have you been doing it now?
So Solo Hunter went to air in October of 2010, but I had done TV since 2004 in kind of random ways and that. But we had the guys that I was partners with. We hired a producer that was doing all the editing, and me and Jeff, we'd be in the studio just all day and all night, just hammering out with this producer. And at the end of the day, we weren't 100% happy with what we were getting. So when we split up and I went my own route, I was like, you know what? The only way I'm going to do this and make money and do it right is I got to learn editing. So I bought a computer and just totally self-taught myself how to edit. And I started cranking out some videos online and everything. And that's kind of how I got into it and got more involved into the TV side of it.
So you'd use like Final Cut Pro or something like that?
Yeah, in fact, I'm still using the same exact system that I bought 10 years ago. that same exact system.
Really?
Nothing's changed. Just a few updates. That's it. Yeah, I'm using Final Cut 7. Old school.
I don't know what
But
the numbers are
doesn't-
up to now.
Well, it's like Pro X or something. And Mark here uses Adobe or whatever. But to me, it's like the editing software in that 10-year-old state is way more powerful than my brain is to keep up with it anyway. So it's like all I got to do is link video together and slap some music to it, and I got a TV show.
Yeah, it's funny when you look back at computers that were 5, 6, 7 years ago. They were incredibly powerful and much more powerful than for the applications that most people use them for. I mean, most people have way overpowered computers. They're just going online, and clicking on links and stuff, and they have these ridiculous computers that can edit and crunch video and do all kinds of massive calculations, and they just never use it.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, do I have the best TV show on the network? No. Do I have the worst one? No. Do I have one that I really like and enjoy and love? Heck yeah.
It's my favorite. One of my favorites to watch. My favorites to watch is Jim Shockey's Uncharted, that new show that he does.
Oh, bores the hell out of me.
Does it?
I love it for what it is. I don't think it was intended to be a quote-unquote hunting show.
No, it's not. It's like a cultural show.
Yeah, Brandlin is probably one of the best producers that you'll ever find. I mean, it's extremely well produced. And I think that's good. But I also think that a lot of producers, especially young producers coming into the industry, are kind of falling into the game where they feel like a show has to be so well produced to be successful. No, it doesn't. You go out and kill something and you bring it home. These are hunting shows we're talking about. They're adventure shows. They don't have to be the best produced shows. Not every shot has to be on a jib or on a slider or, a rack focus or all that kind of thing. Capture the action and the entertainment. And that's where a lot of these productions miss out. But Uncharted is incredible from a production standpoint and from a almost like a modern modern documentary type of feel to it.
If you haven't seen it, Jim Shockey is this guy who's been around forever. This real kind of legendary, the Great White Hunter from BC, from British Columbia, and he goes all over the world. Literally all over the world. Like these really remote places in Pakistan.
Yeah, he's the man.
To hunt goats you've never heard of. These weird fucking funky looking goats.
And the thing of it is he's got the life to back it up. I mean, you look back beyond television before he started doing television. The man lived that lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like he had it. I mean, he's one of the true people that actually grew up in hunting environment, in not just hunting, but harsh country, doing it the right way and building an outfitting business. And it just happened to evolve into television career. I remember watching him on Realtree when he would do the little segment, in the middle. I think it was Realtree. I don't know. That's a long time ago, but he's really, deserved and earned where he's at and put himself there.
Yeah. He's coming on in sometime in November. We're working it out now, but cool. He does these shows that are almost like they're documentaries on the culture that he's going to as much as it is about the hunting. The people,
he delves in a lot to the people. I like
that.
And the way they capture, just like some of those villages and the way people live, I mean, it's incredible. It really brings a reality. It's almost like a Nat Geo type of a feel to it.
Yeah. I'm not interested in doing that though.
No, and the hard thing that I would like to see, and I don't think it could ever happen, but can you imagine going to some of those places with somebody actually experiencing it? And that's the thing that the cameras can't show you. They can't show you the actual experience because inevitably the guy behind the camera or the producer is wanting to bring drama into it. Mm-hmm. They're wanting to bring something out. What's going to captivate the viewer? Well, I'm going to do this and this. And he may use a shot that the kid was doing dishes or something and use it in a scene where something dramatic happened and the kid's crying because he was cutting onions or something. I mean, producers have a way of twisting things to make it look more glorified and more glamorous than it might have actually been.
Well, that's one of the things about hunting shows that hasn't happened where it has with reality TV. A lot of these reality TV shows are the furthest thing from reality that you could ever imagine. Everything is completely scripted. It's calculated. Every event's calculated from the beginning to the end. These shows are just drama shows, like bullshit, fake fiction drama shows that they don't have a script, but they have an objective.
Exactly.
Like you and I we're going to go buy Mexican food, and you're like, I hate Mexican food. And we have a conversation. And then, we go to another place. Like, how about this place? Dude, I fucking hate Mexican food. Like, come on, man. And at the end, we wind up at a Taco Bell, and you're like, hey, this isn't bad. Like, that's a fucking reality show scenario.
The best reality show would be filmed from a drone, and the people wouldn't even actually know that it was there. That would be the ultimate reality show.
Yeah. Well, they kind of try to do that with a Big Brother type scenario, but everything changes once people know they're being filmed.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just they're just bad shows. Most of them are just really bad shows. Whereas like one of the things I like about your show and Renella's show and a lot of these hunting shows is they're willing to show failure too, which is a big part of hunting.
Oh, it's a majority of hunting.
Yeah, I mean you're doing something that's very difficult to do. You're going into a natural habitat that this animal lives in. You're trying to defy all of its natural instincts, its sense of smell, its incredible hearing, all these different evolved instincts that they have to keep them alive, and you're trying to creep up on them, and you're filming the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think what a lot of people may not look at, you know, and I get it sometimes, is like everything's wrapped around that moment of impact, that kill, you know, and especially when you're filming it by yourself, it's really hard to get that moment of impact and that moment of kill on there, but that's like one moment, you know, and it's like the most morbid moment of the entire episode or the entire 5-week long journey after that animal. But everybody focuses on that moment, and it's like, no, you know, there's 10 days of planning and preparation and hunting and actual stuff going on outside of that one little kill. You know? How
did you get the idea to do this show? Why didn't you try to do a show? Did you ever try to do a show with a cameraman that comes with you?
Yeah, I did. So I partnered with a guy in late 2004, so it was really kind of 2005, and we produced a show on was one of the first shows on the Sportsman Channel way back then, and that show's running today. You know, it's continuing on, and he's branched off, and he's got a couple of shows that he's doing. But when I left them,
what show's that?
It's Buck Ventures. Buck Ventures is where I started. And now he's got Major League Bow Hunter, and he's partnered with Chipper Jones and that. You know, somebody with a lot deeper pockets than I have, for sure.
Chipper Jones was a baseball player, right?
Yeah, I think that's what they tell me. No, yeah, he was.
Pull this thing up to your face so you're the same volume as me. There. Thanks.
All right.
These are tricky microphones.
So you know, I moved out to Oklahoma. I mean, when I did that, when I do things, I like go balls in. It's everything. And so I sold my home, moved my wife. My boy was 1 year old at the time. We moved to Oklahoma. We just lived just outside of Oklahoma City in Edmond. And just partnered up and started the show. Loved it, and you know, everything was going good with it. It was 100% whitetail, but it really wasn't my thing. You know, I grew up in central Idaho in the middle of nowhere, and for me to transition my hunting style and what I grew up with to focus just strictly on whitetail, it just didn't fit.
What was your hunting style?
I grew up where I grew up in central Idaho. The nearest Walmart's 70 miles away. I mean, the population 101, you know, I mean, it's a small farming town in central Idaho. It's called the Lost River Valley. I grew up right in Moore, went to school in Mackay and Arco. And so that lifestyle and growing up on a farm was rugged just in and of itself. And so I don't know anything any different. And I know, you know, I can go out the back door and I can be up on the mountains and just go forever. I mean, you could go until Canada if you wanted to, but it's
so you were used to like going out and hiking, going after these animals, stalking them.
Yeah, mountains, western hunting, you know, where you've got elk, you've got deer, bear, mountain lions. I mean, you've got everything. The whole western hunting whitetail is completely different. A whitetail deer might live in just a few square miles its entire life, you know, and you're hunting farmland predominantly or river bottoms, and so you're really, you know, that's the most widely hunted game animal that there is, but it's like
it's almost like a farm animal.
The adventure starts and ends right here, you know, within 200 acres or whatever. Right. When I go on a hunt for elk, the adventure there's miles, you know, hundreds of miles that a person can go on in the West. And when you get up on some of these peaks, and you may have experienced on some of the stuff in Alaska, but like you get up there and it's like, gosh, dang, there's a lot here, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much country. And there's no limitation to how far you can go and what you do. So that's when I say my style, that's my style. Getting out, remote, and
that's way more fascinating to me, to be in like completely wild environments like that. Like you said, standing on a peak, looking out in Alaska, and what you're seeing is just mountain ranges and just hill after hill after hill and valleys, and just it looks endless. It looks endless, and there's no one out there. You're looking straight ahead. You're not seeing any fucking people. You're seeing trees and there's some animals out there. Go find them.
Yeah, yeah, and that's how I grew up. I mean, I would go out a lot of times during school, and I'd just go up, sleep on the mountain, come back, do chores, milk cows, go to school. You know, go to football practice, go home, do chores, go up on the mountain, sleep on the mountain, come back home. I mean, that was kind of how my brothers and I grew up, and it's just, I mean, I just have a yearning for the wild. I mean, some of the coolest experiences that I've had in life have been when I'm by myself and go and do something just so totally random that that nobody else would really even think about. I shouldn't say nobody, but it's like, you know, in college, I'd drive home 2 hours to my folks' house, then I'd drive another hour up to the canyon. By the time I get to the trailhead, it's 11 o'clock at night, hike in for 3 or 4 hours, find somewhere to sleep, get up on top of the mountain, and I'm sitting there as the sun's coming up, and 3 wolverines come up, you know, and circle the lake. And it's like, back then, you know, in the 90s, there weren't wolverines in Idaho. There weren't supposed to be anyway. I mean, I was one of the very first or very few to actually see wild wolverines in Idaho. And it's like, had I not been there by myself, experiencing that in that canyon, you know, if there's other people or other things, those wolverines might not have been as comfortable, you know. But because I was there by myself and I'm the only one there looking down over it, I had that experience. And there's a lot of opportunities like that when you have someone else there, you're focused on the group. You know, you're focused on your conversations, your buddies, your friends, and everything. You're not really tuned in to what's around you. You're not tuned into your surroundings, and so there's certain things that I think you miss out on when you've got other people there. And it's not that I don't enjoy that sometimes, but I feel like when I'm there, like there's a connection. You know, there's a connection to the land. There's a connection to the environment, and you know, you could bring all of it into if you're a hippie, you know, tree hugger, voodoo type of person, you can bring in the nature and the gods and all that kind of stuff into the whole element. But that really and truly is what it is you're out there with no one but yourself and God and his creation. I mean, that's it. It's all surrounding you.
Yeah, and being like that deep in nature where you're actually a part of it, because you're not talking to anyone. So there's no conversations going on.
Plenty of conversations. They're just with myself.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like you don't there's nothing, no anchor that brings you back to civilization.
Right.
You're just seeing wild shit. You're just seeing wild life. You're seeing animals that would exist that way regardless of whether or not you're there or not.
Yeah, and the sad part about it is the older I get and the more I live in the city and the more life evolves and gets busy and hectic. I mean, right now, it just seems like it's a train ride, just straight up. I mean, things are happening fast, just like this opportunity here. The more those things happen, it's like the more desensitized I come to the natural experience. And so when I'm out there, I find myself checking, where's my phone? You know, I wonder what emails I've got. I wonder who's called. And that really sucks because I'm desensitized to the nature of man, you know, to what I grew up as, you know, and that kind of thing. And it's good in a way, but it's also bad. And so I like taking the opportunity. Just like, you know, this week I was supposed to be up hunting in Idaho, but I had too much work to do. I had projects I had to get done, and it worked out great because it freed up our time where you and I could get together. But I know that Sunday, you know, as soon as I get out of church, I'm hauling butt up to Idaho and I'm going to start elk hunting for a week. So I'm going to have that, you know, 8 to 10 days of solace to really get back into it. But then at the end of that trip, it's going to be like, I've got 9 hours to drive home and think about getting back into the daily life, you know, to regular world.
Regular world. Do you have a regular job outside of this
I don't.
show?
This is
you
it.
don't?
People think that I hunt for a living, or that it's all about the hunting and the show. The hunting's like 10% of my life. You know, outside of that, I run my business. I've got products just like you do, and I'm trying to grow the business space. And this year, I kind of took it upon myself that this is the year I wanted to grow my business. You know, I had the TV show established. I had, you know, making a good living and everything, but this is the year that I wanted to take it another step and actually create a business of it. That's where I brought on Mark, and we started producing another show on Sportsman Channel called Off Grid Hunter, and experimenting with that. And now it's like, you know, I've got 2 other sponsors that have come to me and said, hey, you know, you're doing a good job with the productions. We've been thinking about X, Y, and Z. Would you be interested in producing our shows for us and doing other things? So I'm now branching and trying to grow the production side of it, as well as solidify the brand of Solo.
Well, you do you do a really good job producing the show yourself. The way it's edited, it's interesting. It's not just, you know, here's a video camera that I turned on when I walked up to the top of the hill, like Blair Witch style. Like, you know, you cut in music and sound effects, and there's a lot of close-ups. And I mean,
Remy calls it the GoPro show. He's like, we're not the GoPro show anymore. That's awesome.
Yeah, you definitely edit things really well, and that's a big part of watching any kind of a show, to draw people in. But in that show in particular, you're telling a story, and your story is, you know, whatever animal you're chasing after, wherever you're going, you know, you're entering into that environment, and then you kind of like you're explaining your thoughts along the way. Like, one of them I really liked was you alone. You were moose hunting in Alaska, and you were stuck in the tent, and it was raining outside.
Yeah, see, and I had a guy with. I mean, people need to know I had a guy with me, and I said that right on the episode. There was another guy that had the tag, but I mean, you're out there in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and because you're out there like that, because you're in this like intense, wild environment, you get to. When you're talking about it and when you're expressing yourself to the camera, you're getting this kind of insight of what it's like to actually be there. And for a lot of people, that's the closest they're ever going to come to being out there in the wild bush of Alaska chasing after a moose. So it makes there's like the solitude comes across on camera, and it's an interesting element that you don't get on a lot of these shows, because a lot of these shows it's an expedition. You got a couple cameramans, you got a guide, you got 2 hunters, you got all these people there. You got a fucking ATV. Everybody's going out into the woods together. It's a journey, but the solitude of you being alone in these remote environments, and quite honestly dangerous environments, especially like the Alaska one, because there's bears out there, grizzlies. You're packing a pistol when you go to take a shit. It's like
it's ironic. The most hair-raising experiences I've had have not even been Alaska. It's been closer to home and that kind of thing. I mean, in Alaska I got charged by a black bear. I mean, was
it a female?
It had to have been, because what happened was we got off the boat to set up to start calling for a moose and doing some moose calling, and I was like, and it was raining real hard, and I'm like, you know what? I got to go back and get my camera just in case something happens. Or I had to go back and get something. I don't remember what it was. So I walk back to the boat, and as I'm walking back, I hear some noise behind me, and as I turn, this bear's just coming. I mean, it's booking, hauling it just as fast as it could run, and all I did was just wheeled the camera and just yelled "bear, bear" as loud as I could, and the thing just skidded, stopped, and took off. And as it turned around, I mean, I thought I saw another one in the back. So that's the only thing the only thing it could have been was a bear hunting, which isn't going to happen. A bear's going to whatever. So it had to have been a sow with some cubs or something on that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, really, at that instant, you're relying on luck. You're relying on that bear to stop and turn around, because all I had to at that time to protect myself was my voice. By the time I would have got to my gun, the bear would have been on me, and bears bite, and so things would have been pretty bad for a little while had that bear not turned around.
And you were by yourself?
No, I was.
That was with
Ted was there.
Dude.
Ted was. He was right in the general area, because we were both hunting moose together.
Have you ever been out there by yourself and had a situation come up where you're like, "Fuck, I might, I might not be able to get out of here," like being injured or fuck your knee up or anything like that?
Yeah, I jacked up my knee pretty good in New Zealand when I went to New Zealand to hunt with Remy. I had just killed my tar and was coming down off the mountain, and I mean, I wasn't very far from the bottom, but I had stepped in this fern or something and just jacked my knee, and I remember falling, and I kind of blacked out there for a minute. And as I'm laying there, I'm thinking, I'm just like, please don't blow my knee out, And I just laid there for like 30, 40 minutes until kind of the throbbing and the pain kind of went away, and then I was able to get up and kind of walk it off. But that's when it gets, that's probably when it's the most dangerous, is when you're hauling 100+ pounds on your back and you're coming down rough country, because I'm not going to go back up there and pack my camp out, so you're going to load as much weight as you can on your bag, and something could happen at any time. I mean, a guy could step and roll his ankle at any time. It's just kind of, by us being out there alone, it makes it that much more dangerous, I guess.
Yeah.
It's stupid, really.
People who have never gone hiking in these like remote areas, they, like these, especially when you're going after these mountain animals, whether it's elk or something like that, they probably don't understand how treacherous some of the terrain is. And you add into that the fact that you've got 100 pounds of meat packed onto your back, and you're probably going to have to do it several times, especially if it's an elk.
Yeah. I laughed at my buddy. He killed a deer last week, and he was posting these pictures on Instagram of the blisters on his feet and everything. He's like, I'm on my 3rd trip back in to get my deer. And I'm like, hell with that, man. Just cut the thing up and put it all on your bag and come out once.
How big was the deer?
A boned out deer is going to be 90 pounds, 90 to 100 pounds is all. But you got your camera gear or you got your camping gear and that kind of stuff too. So that's where a deer's a one tripper for a guy.
Yeah, I've talked to people that, like, Renella's brother fucked his back up essentially for life, trying to haul out moose. Yeah. And now he has pack llamas. Yeah. He has llamas that he brings with him.
Yeah, my brother tried llamas for a while. Now I think he's got a goat. No, I think he got a horse now. He had goats too. It's like, I can't just
Ranella has these his brother has these llamas, and they put them in a van, and like the llamas, like they fucking piss in the van. They're disgusting animals, but they're just hardy as shit. He lives in Montana, and he's got them out there in Montana. You just tie them to a tree and leave them there, and it's freezing fucking cold out. They just stand there. They don't give a shit.
Oh, they do. They just can't say anything about it.
They probably but they're super durable.
Yeah,
and the idea is you just got to make sure that you pack them evenly. You can't have like 70 pounds off to the right and 100 pounds off to the left. It has to be totally balanced out. But once it's balanced out, those fuckers can just go.
Yeah. Yeah, we grew up hunting with horses and mules mostly, So I mean, it's nice to have that ability to pack camp in and pack all the weight. And I've thought about doing, a pack trip, a solo hunting pack trip. But you're bringing in a whole other element. You're bringing in an animal that you can't control. You can't control, their moods or whatever. I mean, it's just that one more thing that could go wrong. I mean, all it takes is a horse to kick you in the side of the head and you're done. Or, a horse kicks you in the knee, or a horse takes a fall, or any of those kinds of things. And that's, it can mess it up in a hurry. So lately I've just got to the point where I just want to throw crap in my backpack and go. Because I can control me. I know where my brain is going to be, and I know where I'm stepping. But all that horse has to do is take one wrong step, and
it's
odds are it's not going to happen. But I've had a friend that was killed on a horse.
Really? So, what happened?
He was on a pack trip, and I remember I was working at the carpet store when I was a kid, and I was like, John, why don't you stay here? I got this job I need you to do. He was a carpet installer. And I was one of the salesmen. I'm like, I got this job that I need you to do. He's like, nope, man, I'm going on this pack trip. I'm like, come on, it's only a 2-day job. He's like, no. And I remember him vividly saying, he's like, life's too short. He said, I've promised myself no matter what that money's not going to get in the way, and I'm going to live my life. And that on that very trip, his horse, something spooked his horse, and it came over on top of him, and the saddle horn ruptured his spleen. And he went into the hospital. When he got back, he went into the hospital like 220 pounds. The next time when he got out of the hospital, he was like 160 pounds or something. And it wasn't just a couple months later that he died from that, because he had given his kidney to his son. And so his kidney and spleen and everything were jacked up, and he lost his life, from that event. That can happen. My brother, a couple of years ago, horse came over on the top of him, crushed his pelvis.
Oh, geez.
Stuff happens when you've got when you've got animals. Stuff can happen.
Yeah, I have friends that ride horses. They my friend's wife actually. She jumps horses. They go to these fucking rings, and they get their horses to jump over logs and shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why is that exciting? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, it's got to be, I guess.
I guess, but
we used to, my brothers and I, we had the reputation of breaking horses. So people would bring the wild Mustangs that they'd catch off the desert and stuff, which I know now, living in Nevada, they're not that wild. But they'd bring us these horses that they'd adopt, thinking that they would make them as kids' horses or something, and we'd have to break these horses.
How do you catch them?
I don't know how they caught them. I don't know. They just bring them to us in a trailer, and we smack them around a little bit and break them.
Can you break a wild horse, a real wild horse?
We only had one that we really couldn't break. That we didn't break.
So what do? Eat it?
Yeah, that'd be nice. No, I can't even remember what happened to that. One of them, the guy took back, and it ended up getting away, and they ended up shooting it, somewhere, because it got on wild land. They ended up shooting that one.
Why'd they shoot it? Because it got on wild land?
I don't think they could catch it. They couldn't catch it for a while. What they tried to do is shoot it in the neck and hit that tendon. So with horses, a lot of times, like Western reining horses and stuff, a lot of times they'll go in and snip a tendon in their neck to get them to keep their head level, because I guess it's better for the horse reins better and acts better and that, and it's not going to flip his head up and flail its head. So they'll flip this tendon. So the sharpshooter went in trying to shoot this horse in the tendon in the back of the neck to kind of just break him down so they could catch this horse, because it was a big black and white Tabino stallion that they wanted to catch, and I think he just kind of missed
and killed it?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
A little bit of a...
What kind of a sharpshooter does he think he is?
I don't know. He should have hired me.
A moving horse, and you're going to shoot it in a perfect spot on the neck.
I can't imagine shooting a horse anyway. That's why when I see these guys going to Africa and shooting zebras and stuff, I mean, I grew up on a farm. I have such a love and a passion for animals that I can't imagine that.
Well, we were talking about that before the show, that it's a weird thing for people to hear when someone says they're a hunter, but they love animals.
Yeah.
I got this tweet the other day with this woman. She was someone's tweeted me something, and she's tweeted, "Why would you talk to him? He kills bears for fun." Like, you know that. No, I don't kill. I've killed one bear. It wasn't for fun. I eat it.
But did you have fun?
I did. I enjoyed it. I mean, I guess I kind of killed a bear for fun.
And you were sad too,
fun.
Right? Like,
well,
there's a part of it.
There's a remorse. Well, bears are pretty fucking cool. They're interesting. They're interesting. And, you know, I went with Cameron Haynes. We're bow hunting in Alberta. And if you've never been up there, first of all, they have to kill bears up there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fucking bears up there. They estimate between 3 and 8 per square mile. And when you get up there, you realize that it's true. Because like, when you're sitting and you're waiting, they all of a sudden, within an hour or so, they just start showing up. 1, 2, 3. I mean, we saw as many 6, 7 bears at a time. It's fucking crazy. And they're cannibalizing each other left and right. They're eating cubs. You have to kill the males.
They're giving themselves diseases and all kinds of stuff if they overpopulate.
Yeah, and they are overpopulated up there. You have to kill the boars. If you don't kill the boars, they just feast on babies. You know, and it's just a numbers thing. They don't have anything to kill them. Nothing kills them. So if humans don't kill them, then their populations get out of control. They run into starvation issues. There's all sorts of things that happen. And they taste good, you know, and people are fucking weird, man. This whole hunting thing has really exposed me to a lot of very strange hypocrisies that people just accept. And one of them is, this fucking guy came up to me at the airport wearing leather shoes. And he goes, "Man, I was really disappointed to find out that you killed a bear." I go, "Dude, you're wearing fucking leather shoes. Those are leather." I go, "Do you eat meat?"
Yeah, somebody killed a cow for that.
Exactly. He goes, "I do eat meat, but I just think bears are different." I go, "Different how? Because they're not in your neighborhood?" Like, what are you talking about? It's an animal. Do you understand that anything that a hunter kills lives an infinitely better life than anything you're buying at McDonald's, than anything you're wearing on your clothes, any shoes, any leather, any belt that you have? Those animals lived lives of unimaginable suffering for the most part. Those domesticated animals that are done... They're used for, whatever, it's for clothing or for, leather goods or couches or shit like that. Those fucking things live in pens, and their lives from birth to death are just for utility. They serve a purpose. They're a commodity. When you're hunting, you're taking an animal that lives an entirely natural life. You dip into that natural world, harvest that animal, pull it out, and in my opinion, that's infinitely better. Infinitely better in every way. First of all, the animal, they're not going to live forever. It's not like, you're taking away an animal that was going to cure cancer if you kept it alive. That animal was on its way to fucking building a rocket to go to the moon, and you stepped in and shot it. No, they're fucking bears, man. They're bears. They're eating each other's cubs, and it's really good meat, and it's good for you. And the fact that people have a problem with hunters, but they don't have a problem with passing by every restaurant you drive down this street. Every restaurant is filled with meat. Every one of them. Every supermarket filled with meat. All these people, half of them are driving cars with leather seats. Half of them are wearing leather shoes. Probably more than half. But yet people have a problem with hunting. And it's this weird thing because they don't see the death of the animal that caused their cheeseburger, because society is structured in a way that you can just, without participating in the animal's death at all, you can reap the benefits of it by just giving a little piece of paper and getting a cheeseburger, and that's your connection to it.
You can eliminate yourself from some of the guilt because you didn't kill it, and you didn't see it get killed. So, so therefore it didn't happen.
Yeah, and people that eat meat have said this to me, and I'm like, man, you got to rearrange the way you think. I mean, you should expose your... I've told several people that have a problem with it that eat meat. I'm like, you should expose yourself to the death of an animal just to decide whether or not you want to continue eating meat. Because that was a concern when I went hunting for the first time. Like, I had been fishing my whole life, so I've killed things before and eaten them, but I've never killed an animal. And I was like, man, a deer's a big, beautiful animal. Maybe that's going to freak me out. Maybe I'm not going to like it. Maybe I'll be a vegetarian after that. I was like, I was really wondering what it was going to be like. The exact opposite happened. Didn't bother me at all. I mean, I thought it was great. I mean, there was a moment of sadness that this animal died, but the food was delicious. The meat was delicious. The experience was exhilarating. It was exciting. It was fun. It was wild. It was enriching. And it's the healthiest meat you can get, and I think the most ethical way to acquire it. I mean, you're responsible for what you're eating. And there's something super satisfying about that. Whenever I, not all the time, but a lot of times when I tweet photos of like wild game that I cook, and when I'm like out there and I'm grilling something that I killed and I chopped up and I'm putting it on the grill and then I'm eating it, like it's just such a different experience. Like the feeling of it is so much better than just getting a steak from the grocery store, throwing it on the grill and eating it. There's nothing there with that.
Yeah, and pound for pound, it's a hell of a lot more expensive, but that's not, you know, that's not what it's about. And it's one of those things where it's like super, super hard to explain to people when they're like, well, why do you hunt? And even my wife, you know, she's not into hunting. She never wants to be. She doesn't understand how I can love animals so much and yet go out and kill them and all that. But it's one of those things that there's so many different facets that you can go down. Well, we're doing it for food. We're doing it for this. We're doing it for population control. We're doing it for, you know, whatever, for sport, which I don't look at hunting as a sport, you know, per se, but there's a lot of different things, elements that you can bring into it to explain to somebody. And at the end of the day, I look at it, I'm like, I don't know why I do. I'm a man, you know, like I posted a picture the other day on Instagram that's like, a lot of these hunting groups classify themselves as predators or as, you know, addicts or junkies or, you know, I'm an antler junkie or I'm a this or I'm a that. And it's like, I'm a man. You know, God put man on this earth to till and to take care of it. And he gave us sustenance and he gave us an ability to sustain not only ourselves, but to grow population. You know, that's what Adam and Eve were there. If you're a religious person or whatever. But
if you really believe Adam and Eve were the only two people that everybody came from, which is pretty fucking ridiculous.
So I just happen to be a believer in Adam and Eve. But anyway.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you believe that there was two people and that everybody came from those two people?
In a way, yeah.
Really?
I definitely think that there's a lot to specific religions that are out there, that there's pieces there that, you know, if you follow the Bible word for what it says, like literally, there's a lot of stuff there's no way. I mean, it's like, no, those are probably made up stories. But there's other things that I'm a religious person and I believe in God. And I think there's a lot of things that people have twisted.
No doubt.
Right. But I'm a believer.
There's something to all religions that I think there's some universal truths. And there's universal truths about treating people certain ways, and there's universal truths about seeking the good in life, and you know, and looking out for your brothers and sisters. And I think all of that came from understanding that people developed over time, wisdom that people developed over time, and then this connecting to what is universally good about the world,
right?
About life. With
few exceptions, people generally, and there are exceptions, that people generally want to do good. People generally want to be happy. You know, they generally understand consequence. They understand right and wrong. There are exceptions, you know, people who just don't understand it. And then there's people that have calloused themselves one way or the other. Either they toe the line 100% religious and everything is literal, or they go the other direction. You know?
Yeah, the problem with the literal translations is that it wasn't English. You know, I mean, they're still working on the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is the oldest version of the Bible, which is in Aramaic, and it's on animal skins, and they literally have to do DNA analysis on the animal skins to make sure that when they line up the pieces, they're trying to piece them all together, that it's the right animal. Like the way they do the Dead Sea Scrolls. Have you ever paid attention to it?
No. I mean, I'm one of those that's like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Some of those things are so hard to even get into.
Right, but if you want to be a religious person, that's the source of it. That's the source of almost all biblical stories, is the Dead Sea Scrolls. Yeah. And what's really unique about it is that it was found in Qumran, I think, in the 1940s. They found these clay pots, and inside these clay pots were essentially these animal skins that had been wrapped up in, you know, these cylinders and these like wrapped up in rolls, and they had to unravel them, and a lot of them were broken up. And so the broken up ones, the way they, you know, do the DNA test, they do a DNA test. So they say, okay, well, all the pieces from this animal we'll put over here. All the pieces from that animal, we're assuming that's a different piece of skin, we'll put that over here. And then they have to like try to piece it together like this ancient puzzle. Then they have to take Aramaic and translate it into English. And that's even older than the ancient Hebrew version of the Bible. The ancient Hebrew, the weirdest thing about the ancient Hebrew version is that apparently ancient Hebrew didn't have numbers. So letters were also numbers. So the letter A was also the number 1. And like if I said Tim Burnett, there's numbers to your name that like it counts in the not the translation, but what the meaning of the word, like the word love and the word God have the same numerical value in ancient Hebrew. And this is on purpose. It's like things have like value, and the sentences have like a numerical value to them that our brains, the way we think, the way we talk, because we have numbers separate from words, I don't think we totally grasp what a lot of the meaning of a lot of the sentences were. Then on top of that, like a lot of those words in ancient Hebrew, there's something like 25% of them, they still don't even know what the fuck it was. There's a massive amount of interpretation that they have to figure out. Then they take that and take it from there and translate it to Greek and to Latin, and then from that to English. So when you're reading about Adam and Eve, who the fuck knows what the original meaning was? What were they trying to say? The original human beings that God created or that the universe bestowed upon the earth. What was that? Did they really mean that it was just 2 people? It's so hard to tell. And when you add in all the other fuckery, the ones where you know that somebody had a grip on it. We know about Constantine and the bishops and how they rewrote the New Testament and they left out a bunch of shit. Like they chose what was going to be in the Bible or not. Bunch of people chose what was going to be the Word of God. People that had no contact with God. It's not like God came down and he gave them a fucking to-do list, like get all this shit done, and then I'll double check your work and then I'll be back. No, they decided. So I'm not opposed to the concept of God, and I'm not an anti-religious person at all. I think religion's done a lot of good. I think religion is a good foundation for a lot of people to develop morals and ethics, and I just whenever anybody wants to talk about like literal translations of stuff, I'm like, and I always want to know, like, how much did you look into it? Like, when you say literal translation, like, did you go to the actual source of those stories? Because you got to go to fucking the Epic of Gilgamesh if you want to really know the Noah's Ark story. That's the original version of it. It's 6,000 years old. I mean, it's written with these little lines and shit, like on clay tablets. Like, that's the oldest version of that story. Probably based on some real shit that happened. Probably based on real floods.
Yeah, my brother, he was telling me the other day, he watched that Noah movie.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, he's like, man, that was the worst. That wasn't even close. But then he's like, well, there were giants in the Bible, so maybe, and I haven't seen the movie, so I don't have a clue. But he's like, yeah, it was so weird and everything. But
yeah, it's the problem is people are full of shit.
All I know is I guarantee that if there was that Noah, he probably found a chicken and he probably ended up eating it once sometime. And he's like, yeah, that tastes good. You know, I'm going to eat chicken and I'm going to raise chickens and then there's going to be more chickens. And then he's like, well, if a chicken tastes good, then this sheep over here's got to taste good, you know? And so it just continued on, you know?
Well, how the fuck did all the animals get to him? That's the big one.
Matter.
They have to walk there from all over the earth.
Live in the now, Rogan.
How convenient.
No, that's one thing that's kind of cool about your podcast is the ones that I listen to and everything. It's like what I like about you is when you bring in different hosts and different guests. A lot of them have completely opposite backgrounds than what I have, and probably from what you have too. But I like that you're fascinated by a lot of different things, and that you take yourself and just like you're saying there, the research is you'll immerse yourself into really knowing and finding something out, and you find a lot of different things fascinating. And one thing that's really cool when you're talking about the hunting, and when you first did a podcast with Ranella, and then you kind of were educating yourself along the way as you got into the hunting part of it, it was almost like and I don't know if you've gone back and listened to any of your old podcasts when you did those, but it was like a little kid, you know, just learning something new. And I'm like, that's pretty cool, you know, because here you have a grown man asking questions that my 10-year-old's asking me. You know, Daddy, why are you doing this or this or that? Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. Ask Rogan, you know.
I'm like that with you though.
Yeah, Mark's like, but it's it's cool to see, and that's one of the questions that I had for you is like, well, what got you into hunting? Why did you want to start hunting?
Well, my wife would be best able to answer that because she's been mocking me for watching Ted Nugent's Spirit of the Wild for the past
I mock you for watching
11, 12 plus years. I watch it for a lot of reasons. One of it is because it is fucking unbelievably hokey. I mean, he's just a hokey dude. He's a master showman, you know. And if you ever seen Ted Nugent play guitar, you ever seen his band, he's a master showman, and he uses a lot of that showmanship on his show. And you know, some of it is like really ridiculous. Some of it is like very repetitive and very over the top. But I was fascinated by his promotion of this lifestyle, this hunting lifestyle. He has at the time he didn't have the place in Texas. He had his place in Michigan as a high fence operation, and he would just kind of go out into I don't know any hundreds of acres he has, set up tree stands and wait for deer and shoot them, and that's all the meat that he ate.
Right.
He donated it to Hunters for the Homeless and Hunters for the Hungry or whatever it is. And and it really constantly promoted how healthy the lifestyle is, how healthy the meat is, and how this is about sustainability. This is about these animals are providing him with sustenance, and in turn, he is providing. He puts up food plots. He's planting trees. Like his whole thing it's very balanced in a way that a lot of people who eat organic food that they buy at Whole Foods and they think they're being all earthy.
Yeah,
you're
my
not.
wife, yeah.
Mine too. You're not really balanced. Like Ted Nugent living in Michigan is more balanced than you. I know you don't think that, but that's the reality. The reality for a lot of people that go to the grocery store and pick up their organic food is like, man, you don't know how many people were involved in the creating of that food, what was put in the soil. If it's organic, there's no pesticides allegedly, but
it's organic because some inspectors stamped it to say that it is organic. Okay, you don't use this pesticide, but you use this chemical. But it's okay. It's organic.
Yeah, the word organic is a weird word too. It's too open ended. I don't
marketed.
Yeah, I don't know the exact definition of organic groceries are. But there's a difference between groceries that you buy and groceries that you grow. And I grow a lot of vegetables now. And I've been doing that over the last, say, year and a half, 2 years. And again, it's something super fucking satisfying about plucking a tomato, slicing it up and eating it and cooking, putting it in a salad. Tomato that you grew. You put that seed in there, you watered it, it grew, you plucked it. It's the whole cycle. The whole cycle comes together. So I started watching that show. And from then, I just said, God, one of these days I want to fucking go hunting. And then I started watching Ranella's show. I was watching all kinds of hunting shows for like a decade before I ever went hunting.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. People would come over my house and look at my DVR. They were like, what the fuck is wrong with you? The DVR,
you're morbid. You got this weird, twisted...
Yeah, it's When Animals Attack, kickboxing, MMA, hunting shows. They're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me, but that's how I got into it. So until I met Ranella, I never actually went hunting.
Right.
The
hunt you did with him, was it Alaska or something?
The first one, or something? No, the first one was mule deer in Montana.
Oh, gotcha.
We went to the Missouri River. We did a float trip. It was really fun.
I remember seeing something on the Sportsman Channel was touting the crap out of that. They're like, Meat Eater, Joe Rogan goes on Meat Eater, does this, and I'm like, who's Joe Rogan? I'm like, I know who Meat Eater is, but I didn't know who Joe Rogan was. I didn't know what the big deal about it was. And then I watched the episode. I'm like, that guy seems pretty funny, whatever. And then it wasn't until like Mark when, this wasn't very long ago. I'll admit, I haven't, and I'm like, I got to get to know more of this Joe Rogan because he's getting into hunting. He's doing stuff with Ranella. Now all of a sudden, shoot, he's doing a podcast with Cam. And it's like, okay, I got to get to know this a little bit more. And because I'll be honest, I was like, Rogan, he could have been jungle or a acrobat as far as I knew. I had no idea.
You're totally immersed in the hunting world.
Well,
that's your
and
world.
That's what's funny too. You asked me the last time I watched a Meat Eater episode. 2 years ago, year and a half ago. I don't know. I've watched one episode of Uncharted. I just don't watch the shows anymore because I don't know. I'm making them, I guess.
Yeah, well, you're probably so fucking busy too.
Yeah, it's not that I'm that busy. I definitely am busy, but I have my home life too. I spend a lot of time at home, but I just don't spend it watching TV anymore. I used to a lot. When I first started producing television, I would watch all the top rated shows. I'm like, I want to know what Waddell's doing. I want to know what Lee and Tiffany, I want to know what all these people are doing, and I'm going to do it because it's successful.
Right.
It's a format. And then I started solo, and it was like everything went out the window. It's like, I'm going to do everything these people don't do because I'm sick of seeing the exact same thing every time. And this conversations, I had a conversation with a big sponsor the other day because they're wanting to produce a TV show, and we had a big conference call, and everybody was talking about all the things they hate about television and things that they like about television. And a lot of these different shows came up, and without a doubt, they're all like, we hate how hokey it is, we hate how overproduced it is, and this and that and that. But at the end of the day, something's got to die. And it's like, everything is the same. The comments that you get from people is all the hunting shows are the same, And so to do something different is really hard.
Well, there are a lot of them that are saying.
There's so many shows out there right now because of the networks that are available, that there's a lot of shows that are different. A lot of shows that you know, have their own
Heartland Bow
brand.
Hunter is pretty different.
Yeah, there's shows that have their own brand. You know, a lot of people emulate and try to copy what Heartland Bow Hunter started and what they've done, and so you're starting to see a lot of that imagery and that type of shooting into different productions. And I'll admit I fall into a lot of that too, where it's like, man, I want to do a shot that looks like that, but I want to do it my way. You know?
Right.
For ours, for solo, what I think makes it unique is the fact that no matter how we film it, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, we're one man out there. We're trying to kill an animal. We're going to kill it. We're going to bring it home, you know, and we're just trying to document that adventure. I think by doing it by ourselves and having that relationship with the camera where everything seems to be so close up, and like, it's like I'm talking to you, you know, you're watching, I'm trying to talk to the viewer and communicate that. And that's really hard to do, because sometimes you want to just reenact and restate what's happening or what's going on or what you're going to do. But what Mark and I are working on with some of these other projects, and what we're going to try to bring into solo, is more of that what's going on up here, you know, what's going on in my head, more so than what's going on that you're seeing. People want to know more what I'm thinking while I'm doing certain things than actually what I'm doing, I think. And so that's an element as a producer to try to bring into it, to where if people really knew what goes on in my head while I'm up on the mountain, I think they'd be shocked, because it's not, you know, it's not all just complete focus on hiking and hunting and killing. You know, there's a lot of different things that go on.
Meaning that, like, you start thinking about your family, you start thinking about your life, like
well,
that kind of thing?
Yeah, that, and it's like, you know, I may be sitting there one time and I may be thinking, you know, I'm going home. I've been up here for 4 days. I haven't seen a damn antlered animal for the last 4 days. I'm going home. But you have this, you know, all this interaction that goes on in my head. It's like the guilt. Okay, if I go home, I've just wasted 4 days that I've got here that I should have been here to potentially get an episode, you know, or to potentially harvest an animal, bring it home, and to eat it. You know, I'm wasting that. If I go home now, I'm a quitter. If I stick it out, I'm stupid, because I'm not going to find any animals or whatever. So there's just that constant, because when you're by yourself, there's nobody to talk you into things, and there's nobody to talk you out of things. So when you make a decision, it's yours, and you got to live with it. You got to do it. You know, so if I'm hiking up a mountain and a deer is bedded somewhere, and I know that if I hike around this way 2 miles, I can get to him without him winding me, or like I did on the last day of my hunt, I said, yeah, it's a gamble. The wind's blowing here. If I go here, it's iffy. But if I go here, I can cut off 2 miles of distance, but I might have a chance to get on him. But if I go this way, it's 2 miles, but it's a guarantee I could get in on him without the wind. Well, the last day I chose the shortcut, and what did I do? I blew the deer out. You know, the deer caught my scent and was gone. You know,
is there anything that works for covering scent? Because you were using some stuff on the episode that I saw last week, where you were that nose blocker.
Yeah, I tried that nose jammer stuff. Whatever. that stuff's different, I guess. I'm not a scent guy. I'm not a cover scent guy. I'm not a.
You don't believe in it?
I don't.
Do you think they're just
stuff like that?
People
they're trying to convince me that works, and it may work, but there was an instance on that episode because I don't want to down talk nose jammer, you know, because you know they're advertising on the show, but it's not. It's a product that I committed to him when I met the owner. I met John Redmond at a trade show in Reno, and he was so stinking passionate about it. And I told him to his face, I'm like, John, I don't believe in that stuff, man. It's all hokey. It smells funny. I don't want anything that smells. He's like, no, try it. Blah 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 blah. So it turns out he gives me a can of this stuff, and I try it there in Oklahoma. That's the first time I'd ever tried it. And there was a buck that came downwind, and he obviously smelled something.
You could tell. He was like,
yeah, he's like, and that was awesome, because I was like, is he smelling? But you know what? The deer could have done that by smelling me, or he was smelling the vanilla that I just rubbed all over the tree, or whatever's in the nose jammer. But something confused his sensory glands, and that's the point behind nose jammer, I guess, is to kind of confuse their sensory glands so that it just pauses them just for that 1 minute. So hopefully you can get a shot at them. But it did. It held that deer up, and then he moved on. So there's some validity to that, I guess. But would that deer have done the same thing if I rubbed coconut oil on my pants? You know, who knows? I don't know.
Right. How could you tell? You'd have to have the exact same scenario with the exact same animal and a bunch of different options.
And that's why, for me personally, I've had so much experience in the field, and I've had so many times when I've tried different things and times when I've just gone natural, you know, where it's just me and my body odor, where that's it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, my conclusion has been, and it is to date, and that's not to say that it can't change over time and as I have more hunting experiences, but right now I don't want to interject any foreign scent into the air. You know, I'm going to have a smell to me no matter what I do, no matter what I shower in, no matter what I spray my clothes down with, doesn't matter. I'm going to smell a certain way that is not natural to that environment. So when that deer walks into his bedroom, because a deer is never anywhere by chance. He's never anywhere randomly. He's walking where he's walking for a reason. You know, he knows that that's a safety corridor where he can move himself from food to bed or whatever safely. And so he's there for a reason. So if he smells anything out of the ordinary or sees anything out of the ordinary, he's automatically going to be on alert. And, you know, that there's variations to everything, because cropland and where you hunt some of these whitetails, it's farmland. Where I hunt there in Oklahoma, it's an operating cattle ranch. So the deer could have smelled people before, had to have, because there's oil rigs in there where there's people in and out. So they know what people smell like. So to me, I use that into my little thinking, is that if they know what humans smell like, they want to avoid it. So they're traveling these corridors because they know they can avoid humans. So they're just traveling where he's traveling because he knows he's not going to have any interaction with anything but a deer.
Right.
So to me, I use that as, well, that's the point where I want to be and I want to get to so I can kill him. You know? So if he smells anything, guys, getting back to the scent thing, if he smells anything out of the ordinary, the gig's up anyway. So, and
deer have an insane capability for smell, right?
Yeah. I mean, they say, I don't know the exact numbers. I mean, I'm not a technical guy. I'm more of a live in the now, you know, feel how I feel kind of person. So, you know, I've had experiences where a deer has been 1,000, 1,500 yards downwind and he smells me, and it blows me away. It's like, that deer is 1,500 yards away from me and he smells me and he takes off. Wow. Because in the West, you can see that. You can see what goes on. So when you're sneaking around, you see that deer poke his head up, and you know when they're smelling and they're gone. If they smell you, they're out of there. But you know, when I was hunting this year, there's several times where I bumped these two big bucks. I bumped them 3 different times. The first 2 times they just saw me and they didn't smell me, and they just kind of, you know, moseyed off. They were like, something's weird over there, you know, so that bush isn't supposed to be moving like that. But then the one time that they smelled me, they didn't see me. They just smelled me and they were gone. I mean, they booked it.
Do they smell your breath? Like, what are they smelling?
Yeah,
everything.
You fart in the woods, don't you? I mean,
I do.
Well, there's it depends. It's breath, but it's we have a scent, you know. Right. I mean, I smell myself right now sitting here, but it's like we have an aroma about us, just like they have an aroma about them, you know. So you can wash your clothes in the scent-free stuff, you spray whatever, but you know, 30 minutes into a hike, I'm sweating and smelling like a man smells, you know. You could maybe eliminate the very outskirts of their ability. Don't even try. Just play the wind. Well, I mean, and that's hard too, because it's like, you know, there's millions of advertising dollars spent in promoting scent elimination products, and some of my sponsors promote scent elimination clothing or whatever. And at the end of the day, all that stuff can help. It can eliminate, like you're saying, it can take your scent aroma from here to here, which is good. That's to your advantage. But
what about those ozone things? Those ozone things that people put behind them?
I can't speak for that. I don't know.
Ozonics?
I dealt with ozone with water, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, was that?
It's a giant box that's above your tree stand.
Does it play music? Is it like, can you like?
Yeah, music.
Yeah, something.
It's like elevator music to calm them down. Put some sedates them.
Looks like a projector to me.
It's like the air cleaner thing.
Yeah,
it's the ozone. It puts out, which I'm experienced with ozone with water when I worked for a water company. Is the ozone it's a form of sanitizing. Yeah, it keeps the lines clean, and it keeps everything clean. So I guess if you inject that into the air, and you can smell ozone, like after a good heavy rainstorm or something, you can smell the ozone in the air. You can smell it.
The ozone from the ozone layer, from the
from the environment.
The ions.
It
disables the ions and does something. Yeah, you can get them for your house. I know people that have got them around their house, and it lowers the dust levels, allergens.
Really?
Yeah, it just paralyzes it, brings it right to,
But isn't ozone toxic?
In hive, you can get yourself pretty sick from it if you.
So if you're sitting in a tree stand blowing ozone on your face.
I can't speak to it. To me, I don't know, man. That's one more thing I got to haul up the tree. I'm never going to use one. I mean, they could come to me and say, "Hey, we'll give you 50 grand to use this thing." I'll be like, "I'll take your 50 grand, but I ain't going to use it."
Wow, how rude! I can't believe you're saying this on a podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey,
well, good for
it's
you
all
for
straight
being
up
honest, though.
I've
appreciate
turned
that very
down.
much.
I had a sponsorship at one time with a scent elimination company, and they wanted to grow that sponsorship. Of course, there was other pretense to it to move to another network and different things, and I ended up turning that down because and I told him exactly. I'm like, this is not a product that I can get behind 100%. And if I can't believe in what it is, then people are going to see right through that.
Right.
So for me, it's like that money that you're going to give me, it does us both no good.
Right.
So I discontinued that relationship with that sponsor.
Yeah, I feel the same way about sponsors for the podcast. I've turned down a bunch. I've turned down one recently. It was pretty lucrative, but I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like what they're selling. I don't like the idea. Not doing it.
Yeah, and with the TV show, some of it, you see some of the ads or the billboards that are running in the show and everything. What a person's got to realize too, from a production standpoint, is we have sponsors, quote unquote sponsors that we are backing. Under Armour, Prime, G5, all these that are backers and investors. They're pretty much investors in you and in your business and your brand. And then there's ads that you sell. 30-second commercial spots, those types of things. That's ad placement that either the network's going to put in there or I'm going to sell it to somebody to put in there.
Yeah, that's
so
maybe people don't understand
line.
how outdoor shows work.
Yeah.
Yeah, outdoor shows work a little bit different than a lot of other shows. A lot of times they get, like, say if a guy puts on a show like Solo Hunter, you have a certain amount of advertising space that's for you, for your program. Right. But then the network has a certain amount of advertising space of their own for their things. Like, I had to tell Ranella about an advertiser that was competing with one of his friends' companies that was on the same show. I go, do you know that you guys are selling this on your show? He goes, what? We're selling that? I go, yeah, your show had an ad for this, and which is a ripoff.
It's because they didn't protect the category.
Yeah, exactly.
So for like Under Armour and some of the major sponsors, you protect categories. So when somebody buys a commercial spot on the show, for say, that's protected. I'm not going to go out and find another clothing guy, camo sponsor or any of that. I'm exclusive for these guys. And so
yeah, that makes sense. So it's for folks who don't know exactly how you're saying it. It's a kind of a unique thing. You're kind of buying time on the network.
Yeah, that's one thing I tell people. Is there's no rule book, but there's no playbook either. So the networks, there's a lot of variations. The majority of hunting shows out there, they're called time buys, where we buy that 30-minute block on the network, and then we buy a certain amount of advertising. And we sell that advertising, and then whatever advertising we don't buy from the network, because within a 30-minute 30-minute block, you have 6 minutes of commercial time. So it's 3 2-minute commercial breaks. So whether I buy any of those commercial times or not, Outdoor Channel is going to put in 3 2-minute breaks into that programming. So my 30 minutes turns into 22 minutes. So what I do is I buy however many 30-second commercial spots I can sell. I buy that from the network. I turn around and sell that at margin. Then within the show content, there's, I get paid to wear somebody's hat. I get paid to wear somebody's shirt. If I use a product, I get paid. And there's different ad placements in there. And so it becomes more, people think that it's all about hunting. Hunting's the fun part. But for me, the business is the fun part too. So you're trying to calculate in that 30 minutes, how can I maximize my revenue? Because you have a limited number of advertising spots that you can put in there. So it's, who can I contract and who can we fit in certain places?
It's a very interesting way to produce television that a lot of folks aren't aware of.
It's cool in a way because there are shows on the hunting television that are more like Discovery Channel, where the network pays for them to be produced and they actually own the content. They're called Outdoor Channel Originals, or on Sportsman's Channel, I don't know what they're called, whatever. Where the network is invested into these shows, or they give them the airtime for certain. There's a myriad of ways things can be done. But I want to own, at the end of the day, I want to own Solo Hunter and I want to own Tim Burnett. I want to own my brand. I don't want, just because they're buying the show off me, I don't want to have them have any control over me or what I do or what I say or what advertisers I can bring in. So at the end of the day, yeah, I'm having to front some money and run it as a business rather than somebody paying me to produce a show. But at the end of the day, there's no limit to what I can make. There's no limit to the advertising that I can sell. And I own myself. I own the show. I own the brand.
Are you aware of this whole sort of movement that's going on right now on television, on regular television, like the History Channel and a lot of these other channels, where they're really concentrating on people that are trying to live sustainable lives?
Yeah.
Like the Alaska shows, like Alaska: The Last Frontier, or there's that other show, Life Below Zero. Have you ever seen that show?
Yep.
It's a good show. And it's a lot of it is hunting.
Yeah, and I follow that stuff probably more than I do in the hunting industry, because to me it's obviously mainstream, but it's more fascinating because you don't have individual little guys like me conceptualizing and coming up with the content. You have big boys in big rooms making big decisions with big checks, doing big analysis on viewership and on what people are looking for and all that. You have them creating the concepts and the ideas. So to me, it's like those are the people I want to watch, because those are the people with the brains and the backing behind them, knowing with their hand on the pulse of what society's looking for. So I follow allegedly, which I mean,
most of the time they're just TV fuckheads.
The hard thing with that is like there's a larger part of society that are non-hunters, non-outdoorsmen than there are that are outdoorsmen. But you're starting to see a lot of content, people trying to portray that lifestyle.
Yeah, that's why I asked you, because I think there's this movement right now, and you see it in like weird ways. Like you see it with like preppers, like a lot of these weird people that are like canning foods and digging holes in their backyard and burying water bottles and
taking
stuff.
Dumps in coffee cans. I mean, whatever.
Well, preppers, it's weird, because some of them are like living in cities and they're putting all this stuff together. And I kind of got news for you. If you're living in a city and the shit hits the fan, you better get the fuck out of that city.
That's what I told my wife. I'm like, you know what? I'm flying through Vegas into LA on 9/11. It's like, there's nowhere to go. Like, I don't know how you guys do it down here. There's nowhere to escape.
Nowhere.
Where I'm at, I'm like, okay, out the back door, gone, middle of the Nevada desert. You'll never find me. But here, it's like, man, you can't.
Well, it's going to be
crazy.
Also, you're going to be surrounded by a bunch of people who don't have any food, who don't have any water.
Scary.
And they're going to find out that you have food and water. You better have a lot of bullets and fucking Adderall to stay awake.
Yes. Don't let people know you've got a year's supply of food.
Yeah, don't get on a prepper show where it shows the fucking front of your house and all your neighbors know where your stored food is.
Crap hits the fan. There's a lot of us that are in trouble. Ultimately, society's going to have to bond together, and that's where religion, a lot of these groups will come together, and that's where it'll become valuable. For people that don't see it, like that's where little groups, communities, it's where if you don't know your neighbor, man, you should know your stinking neighbor, because the guy might be covering your back one night,
Maybe.
So you need to know your area, and crap hits the fan, we're all screwed anyways.
Yeah, you're almost like I was listening to this other show that I listen to all the time called Radio Lab. It's a podcast, and they were talking about the impact that killed the dinosaurs, and when they were talking about it, it was like. You're just going over like what the original human was, like this thing that allegedly came out of, that impact, like what animals, what fossils they know of. And it's almost like you'd rather get hit in the head by that asteroid than go through all that shit.
I know.
You don't want to be the people that have babies in an apocalyptic environment, and then those babies grow on to like... Fuck, man.
Be glad you live in an era where they can make cotton really, really soft. And, you got soft blankets and warm heat, and you don't have to deal with.
I'm a big fan of civilization, but I am a big fan of this. Well, we were talking about the prepper thing because I think there's this. People are sort of realizing, as people pay more attention to a lot of the issues that society has, whether it's environmental issues like whether it's pollution or garbage that's being dumped into the ocean, or the amount of fish that's getting pulled out of the ocean, sustainability, and they start looking at the ideas of like where their food comes from. Like people are really into grass-fed beef now. Grass-fed beef is a big thing. It was fucking non-existent 10 years ago. Never saw grass-fed beef anywhere. Yeah. Almost every supermarket I go to now has like a little section grass-fed meat. And people are concerned about animals that are eating what they're supposed to be eating instead of some weird fucking grain.
I got news for people is beef, being here in the West, we see a lot of that, and the majority of its life is grass-fed. Yeah. They turn them out on the range. They pay fees for the BLM or wherever it is. They're grass-fed up until about 3 months at the end of their life, where they're put onto a feedlot, fed a bunch of fat foods, fattened up, so they taste good when I put them on the grill. I mean, there's a reason why, in my opinion, why foods have been engineered and changed is because it makes them. We got a lot of people to feed, you know, for one.
Yeah.
But so in a way that's good, but as long as I can go out and still obtain a deer tag or an elk tag and go out and get my own meat for myself, I'm going to continue to do that, you know.
Yeah.
But,
well, it's a totally different kind of meat. That was the point, is that when you eat a steak from an elk or a deer and then you eat a steak from a cow, like one of them is a fat lazy fuck that's like marbling. Like that shit's not supposed to be there.
it tastes so good.
It does taste so good.
I love it.
I had a ribeye last night. Oh,
Dang.
a bone-in ribeye. Oh, delicious.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was not fucking grass-fed whatsoever. Probably never even saw grass.
Probably never feared for its life either.
Oh, probably not to the end.
It didn't even know the end, you know. The axe fell, and
I don't think it's an axe.
I don't know what it is.
It's a piston.
Piston.
Yeah,
Is that
right.
what it is?
That thing like No Country for Old Men. That thing that he uses to
And then
jack
they take a
people in the
rod.
foreheads.
And then they
Yeah.
take a rod and go.
I remember in high school I watched a video on the butchering process, you know, and that made me sick. When they killed the cow, made me sick. After that, it wasn't that big of a deal, you know, because I had dealt with that before. But.
Well, what's weird is when they do it kosher style. Like kosher, you have to cut its throat, and it
really?
suffers way more.
Yeah, that's brutal.
It's very strange. Like they have rules, and a lot of the rules are like old school religious rules. Like the reason why you're not supposed to eat pigs. Well, it's because a lot of pigs carry trichinosis. That's what they did back in the day, at least. And so they were telling people don't eat pigs. Why? Because people ate pigs and they got really fucking sick. So they wrote it down. Don't eat pigs. It's against the religion.
The way I grew up, you know, I mean, you talk about organic and you talk about raw. I mean, the way I grew up is probably about as organic and raw as you can get. I mean, whole milk straight from the cow. You milk the cow, take it in, strain it through a cloth, you know, a cloth, chill it, skim the cream off, or shake it in and you drink it. You know, no pasteurization, nothing. That's how I grew up. There was a time there when my dad was a farmer and he lost the farm, so he had to go back to college. Well, there was a big time stretch in there where we had to sustain off the land, you know, or off of the farm. We had animals to eat. And, you know, the farmers would come and drop off a sack of potatoes because they knew that, you know, those little ruggedy kids, you know, their dad's off going to college and their mom's trying to take care of them. And so we literally lived off the land for
So your dad was somewhere else and you were on the farm?
Dad went to college in Provo, Utah, while we lived in central Idaho, you know, because he went back to school to get his teaching degree because we lost the farm. Now, he was a potato farmer for a long time. So we're living on the farm, and it wasn't unusual for Mom to go out, grab one of the rabbits that we were raising, and I'll never forget the first rabbit, you know, that I watched her kill, hung it up, smacked it on the head, and, you know, we had rabbit for dinner. And there was a lot of times where it's like, Timothy, can you go grab a chicken? You know, we need dinner or whatever, and you'd go out and you'd get a chicken and you'd take care of it and bring it in, you know. It's just part of the lifestyle that I grew up, that you didn't go to the grocery store and get things. You went out to the garden and you pulled out a zucchini. You know, you went and pulled some tomatoes. What was really cool is the irrigation system that was there, the little ditches. I mean, asparagus everywhere, wild rhubarb. I mean, there's all these different kinds of things that we probably did out of necessity during that time span, more so than out of, we're going to live off of our farm, live off of what we create. But I think that time span taught me a lot about the reality of life and death, the reality of, hey, you can create and be completely self-sustained. You know, you can create your own food, everything right here, just on one tiny little farm. And then also, you know, that's what kind of gave me a love and a passion with animals, because you're raising, you know, a calf from the time it's born, you're bottle feeding it. You're feeding it all through the winter time, you know, breaking the ice off the water trough and everything else. The next spring, you're killing it, and then you're going to eat it. You know, so there's that whole span where you go from life to death in a 5, 6, 8 month period of time. And as a young kid, that could be either traumatic or that can be a major life learning experience, you know. And I took that as, this is the way life is. That's the way things happen. So when I grew up and you get older and you get to college and people start throwing you eat animals or this and that and the vegetarian stuff, and you start learning the things of the world, that's where it's like, man, you people are the ones that are crazy, not me, you know.
Yeah, there's just so much ignorance involved in people that live in cities and, you know, claim that there's something wrong with people that eat animals. what's wrong is factory farming. There's something wrong about factory farming. There's something wrong about jamming a bunch of chickens into a box that's so small they can't move, and they cut their beaks off so they don't peck each other's eyes.
But do they
out.
have to? That's the thing is, do they have to do that in order to provide enough food for people? That's where I don't know. That's where I'm ignorant on the subject, because it's like, man, part of it is like, well, we got to produce food. We've got to have GMOs. We got to have grain grow faster. We got to have these different things just to provide food for people.
There's so many,
because we're providing food for people all over the world. You know, so it's like, dang, where's the fine line there? You know, where's?
It's a good point. I just think that the ethics involved in raising animals, I think it is important. It is important, and it's important that these animals don't suffer needlessly. But the idea that eating them is wrong, it's like, boy, there's some weird. It's a very shallow-minded argument, in my opinion, or not shallow-minded, but the exploration of that idea. The exploration of that idea is kind of simplistic, because if you just let the animals free, okay, no more livestock, no more this. Well, what are you going to do with all those animals? Are you going to just let them roam free? And if you let them roam free, how are you planning on driving anywhere? Because if you're planning on going do you want to keep them penned up and you want to keep feeding them and just not eat them? Okay. Well, what are you going to do when there's too many of them?
Well, there shouldn't have been that many to begin with, you know, or it's because of the factory farming that there are that many pigs or that many turkeys or whatever.
Well, do you know what they're doing in the Hamptons? The Hamptons, like a really rich area.
I've heard it on your podcast. That's the first time I heard about that.
They're trying to give them birth control.
Yeah.
They're trying to give deer birth control.
I mean, birth
hundreds
control.
of thousands of dollars.
They're doing it.
Are they doing it?
Yeah, right now.
What the fuck is wrong with these
They've
people?
done birth control in certain cities, I think.
The fuck is wrong with these people?
You know what? Birth control, it's like, you know, it's a 22-cent 308. I don't know. I mean, that's birth control right there.
Just or arrows. I mean, in one of the shows, Waddell and that dude T-Bone.
Never heard of him.
You know those guys.
Never heard of them.
They went to New Jersey, and they were in like this residential neighborhood in New Jersey that has a deer problem. So they were like posted up on these tree stands in these people's backyards, just fucking deer everywhere.
These guys, Mark here grew up in New York.
Well, Ithaca, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that place is mobbed
with deer.
Yeah,
you can't even drive at night.
Yeah. So what they do is they shut down the parks and they allow you to go in after all the deer season's done, and you're allowed to take up to 5 deer.
Wow.
And it's so controlled that they want to know at the end of every day, you have to log on a piece of paper, part of your license, what you've seen and how many and where they were.
The guys in Boston, like Mitch and Tim, they were showing me where they were hunting. Right, I went to visit them. It's like 5 minutes away from New Plymouth Rock, you know. And they're like hunting right there on the ocean and everything. I was just like, man, that's crazy.
Just overwhelmed with like urban deer or suburban deer. Yeah, that's a big issue also with ticks. Because those deer are the ones that are carrying those deer ticks, and those are the ones that are carrying that Lyme disease. And
my wife's obsessed with ticks. Every time she talks to me on the phone, did you check yourself for ticks? No, babe, I can't see that far. Did you check yourself for ticks? No.
Ranella and his kid both got Lyme disease, and one of his producers.
Never heard of him.
He got it really bad though. His kid had Bell's palsy. I don't know if you
that's sad. Yeah, that's crazy.
It was ugly. But he was saying on the last podcast I did with him, but they did some study of ticks in the
Hudson Valley, Hudson County or something.
Something like 70 to 80% of them have Lyme disease.
Wow,
it's a fucking epidemic.
That's crazy. Well, they had stinking Burning Man in Nevada. Out there, I guess a bunch of the people got West Nile disease or something from all the mosquitoes.
16 to 23,000 people.
What
came down with West Nile? Yeah.
What?
All the more reason not to go to Burning Man.
There's no need for any more reasons to not go to Burning Man. But if you did need one, that's it.
Yeah.
If I go to Burning Man, it's to hand out soap.
I do find myself up on the mountain though. Sometimes you're like, I wonder if I got any ticks. But you know, there's that deer I shot last week. Holy cow! Did you see the Cape? There's ticks everywhere.
Yeah.
Just
covered,
literally just. And what's crazy is when after the animal dies and I brought it back and I caped it out and everything. Which is, if you don't know what caping is when you take the hide for mounting. You know, so you take it off the head and neck and you bring it back, you tan it, and you have it mounted so you can preserve your whether it's a trophy or you can preserve your memories or whatever it is. But once it dies and it goes through the cooling process, the ticks don't have anywhere warm to stay anymore, and there's no blood, and there's nothing, so they just start coming out like crazy. Oof. And I mean, there was just this pile of ticks. I was like, man, that's.
Do you kill them? What do you do?
You just let them go. Well, you can't kill a tick. I mean, we used to, when we'd have sheep and stuff, and we'd be on the farm, you'd kind of roll your fingernail over and crush them and try to kill them, but
Yeah,
they're
they're tough. They're like a flea.
just don't get them on you. Yeah, they're bad. They're yucky.
Ugh. So,
I don't know. I could have Lyme disease. I would never know. I mean,
I think you just start feeling like shit.
some days you feel bad, some days you feel good.
Well, they say that, do you
don't
remember,
even
there, like in the 80s or 90s, a lot of people were coming down with chronic fatigue syndrome.
They linked it to Lyme disease.
Yeah.
Is that what you're?
Yeah, people were saying, well, it was a real issue. Like people were saying, oh, my friend has chronic fatigue syndrome. Like, what does that mean? Well, sometimes people just get, for whatever reason, they're just tired all the time. Their body aches. Well, why? They don't know. Well, now they believe that a lot of those people have Lyme disease. Because apparently there's a lot of doctors to this day that are reluctant to diagnose someone with Lyme disease. And that's what Rennell ran into with his kid.
Yeah.
He was like, I think my kid's got Lyme disease. And the doctor's like, don't worry about it. It's nothing. And then it turns out that he did. And, he was really fucking pissed off because he brought his kid in there 3 times.
But they'll sure slap him on Ritalin in a hurry, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go put your kid on Prozac.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll help his
I
Lyme
guarantee
disease.
if I took my kid in, they'd be like, he's ADD. You gotta calm that kid down. I'm like, nah, man, he's a boy. He's exactly
no
what I
Burning
need.
Man was not infected with West Nile virus.
See, Mark, you're
see
full
that?
of crap.
What happened?
They
That's
found
the
it there.
That's the Huffington Post.
say?
I'm going to believe
They
that
found
one.
it in that area
yeah.
and some traps, but it wasn't on any people or
Oh, okay.
only one case in that county.
Yes.
Oh.
So that whole last 5 minutes of that segment, there was so many people out there screaming, "You guys are wrong. You're so full of crap. You're
That's-
spreading lies."
Every podcast I've ever done ever.
I got news. Yeah.
There's no way around that.
It doesn't matter. You just got to do your thing.
So I guess it's not 16,000. It's 0.
Zero.
close, Mark. But
Well, when you think about 7 billion people on the planet,
I
you
said
weren't that far off.
I heard.
Close enough.
Yeah.
So back to this movement, this trend that people are having to sort of. I think a lot of it comes with people that are kind of trying to shy away from GMO foods, and these people that are trying to move towards sustainability. And I think that's what's being reflected in a lot of these shows. But I find it fascinating that people are really into these shows that have never had any desire to hunt, and they accept it. Like, especially like Life Below Zero is a really good one. And they accept how these people live because, well, hey, those people live out in the bush. They have no choice. And it's a unique lifestyle choice instead of, hey, Tim Burnett likes to go out and shoot things and hunt them and film it. But I feel like it's the same thing. I really do. I feel like it's exactly the same thing. It's just they've stylistically labeled it in a different way. And it became, a reality show about unique people.
Does that mean I have to accept the hippie, that's out there humping like minks all over and, transmitting diseases everywhere because that's the lifestyle that they chose, So it's like
They hump minks?
Humping like minks. I don't know. Whatever.
What's
I'm
a
just
minx? Like the animal?
Rogan,
like
you're
minx?
ruining my example
I'm
here.
sorry.
I'm just saying.
What's a shitty
Just because
example?
they're saying that it's acceptable because those people interjected themselves into that lifestyle. So it's like, okay, so the people that are living whatever lifestyle, should I accept that just because they're putting themselves into that lifestyle? It's like, I don't know.
Well, I have no problem accepting any lifestyle that doesn't intrude on mine. But when I see these reality shows, whatever you want to call them, where these people are living this sustainable life, I find it super intriguing, like almost like in a primal way. Like I love watching those shows. I think there's Life Below Zero. There's one guy, I think his name's Glenn, and he lives deep in the woods. Okay, he lives right next to this lake. And he doesn't have any power. There's he doesn't have a fucking snowmobile. Like, there's levels that these guys do it. Some guys have snowmobiles. There's one guy, Eric. He has a snowmobile, and he traps and hunts, and he sells the furs and things along those lines. And so he gets some money for that, for supply. And then he also guides. He's a hunting guide. But this other guy, Glenn, he's none of that. I mean, he has some furs that he sells, and with the money, he gets bullets. And that's basically, he has tin pots and pans and things along those lines for cooking. But everything he does, he's chopping his own wood. He makes his own fire with like one of those things. He puts like the piece in his mouth with the stick so he can hold it in place, and does the whole thing with the fucking, with it looks like one of those things you play the violin with. You know, like
Just a fire
like
bow?
a bow.
It's just a fire bow?
A fire bow, but it's an old school one where he holds a piece in his mouth that keeps his stick in place, so he could got a bone
So he can
piece.
use both hands for the momentum
exactly, so
rather
he could
than
really get it
normally
fast.
you push down with one arm and you bow
Yeah.
with another arm.
So he bites down on it with his teeth, holds the stick in place, and he can make a fire pretty quickly like that. It's pretty interesting to watch. But he said, hey, you know, you could lose matches get wet. This I'll never lose. So he's gone so old school, like as old school as old school gets. And it's amazing. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
But for this guy, when he talks about it, he talks about how exciting and enriching every day is for him. Every day has a purpose. Every day is, you know, acquiring food, living off the land, figuring out a way to store that food. He's got this this meat cooler room that he's built that's like a sod house. So he has all this sod over it, you know, to kind of keep it essentially underground, keep it cool. And he has all his meat hanging in there. It's just it's incredibly fascinating that people are like tuned into this stuff and geared. And a lot of my friends that have never had any desire to hunt whatsoever watch these shows, and sort of sparks that little fascination inside of them.
It's got to be good. I mean, that's got to be a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like Alaska, The Last Frontier. That's one that I really like.
Yeah.
And I think that one's kind of twofold. The reason I like it is, one, because the the characters, you know, they're pretty interesting, and I like that. But two, it's the subsistence lifestyle. Subsistence lifestyle.
Yeah, that's an interesting one too, because there's different people that are in that family that do it different ways. Like the one guy, Otto's a cattle rancher, and he's got his cattle, and then there's the son who just decides no cattle ranching, just going to go off a hunting, do the whole thing. You know,
Good luck.
yeah, good luck. Well, it can be done, but man, it's not as easy as people would think it is.
Yeah.
It's a 24-hour proposition.
Yeah. And then there was one just on Discovery Channel. It must have only ran for a few weeks, called The Hunt or something, where they were documenting or following
like 10 weeks
outfitters or something.
Yeah, that's James Hetfield from Metallica was the host
he was
of it.
one of the guys. He got a lot of flack for going on there or something. But it's like you know, the mainstream networks, and I guess that's kind of a frustration too. It's like, well, why can't a hunting show go mainstream? Why can't a typical hunting show go mainstream? Well, I don't know if society would accept that or not at a mainstream level. And yet the Discovery Channel can come out with a series like that is hunting, and it's bears. You know, they're hunting bears. It's like, why is that okay for Discovery Channel to do that, but for me to go out and, you know, kill a deer or an elk?
I think it's changing. That's why I brought that up. I was going to bring up the hunt because I think it is changing. They tried to get James Hetfield removed from the Glastonbury Music Festival because he hosts the hunt, and they used a photograph that they said was him standing over a grizzly bear, but it wasn't even him. It's not him. But pull that photo up. You know that photo of that guy who is the actual hunter? He's been sort of going out publicly and promoting this. Like, I don't know why these anti-hunters use this photo of a guy who kind of sort of looks like James Hetfield, but it's not James Hetfield at all. So it's complete bullshit. It's not. What he's doing is just narrating it. They took into, you know, this idea, and they ran with it, and they're being really dishonest with it. This is the guy. See, and they're promoting that as James Hetfield.
Just because he was the narrator behind the series.
Yeah, and well, he kind of looks like him a little bit, but it's not.
know.
It's not James Hetfield at all. That's James Hetfield. I mean, James Hetfield does hunt, but that's not him standing over that grizzly bear. So the entire premise of this thing that they were doing to try to get people off of or get Metallica removed from this music festival was just a bullshit photograph.
Have you had anything against you for you going hunting? Is like anything publicly where it's like, don't let Rogan, you know, don't let him do anything with UFC anymore. Don't do this, or,
How could you do that? Cage fighting? That's the thing about being a cage fighting commentary. You're already doing something so fucked up. You know, you're involved in what some people think is human cockfighting. They don't really care if you go out and shoot animals. But yeah, I've had people angry at me. Definitely. People call me a piece of shit, especially for the bear. The bear was there's a photo of me and Cam standing over this bear I shot. And I got more heat for that than anything I ever did. Because I think it's because people have this, what they call anthropomorphication, I think is the word, where they connect animals to with human characteristics, like Yogi Bear and fucking all these ridiculous. And
I think we grew up that way. We grew up loving those animals, you know?
Yeah. And they have this idea of what wildlife is that's completely alien from wildlife itself.
Right.
Those folks that I went bear hunting with, Cameron Haynes and the Rivets, Johnny and Jenny Rivet, they run this Living the Dream outfitter company up in Alberta. The nicest fucking people you ever want to meet in your life. And they have animals. They have dogs. They love their dogs. They have a puppy. Like, people who don't understand hunting would never imagine that these people could go out, shoot bears all day, and come home and pet their puppy. You know, it's like, to them, it seems like completely contradictory and alien. Like, how do you decide what animals you're shooting and what animals you're petting?
And I can respect that. I mean, you can see why. I mean, my wife's the same way. She's like, how can you love animals so much? And, you know, when you see a deer hit on the side of the road, you're like, oh, man, that sucks. That's real. And then the next week you go out and kill one. She's like, I don't get that. And I'm like, well, it's hunting. It's not killing. You know,
does she eat meat?
She eats meat. Yeah. She's funny. She'll try to, like, I'll cook up some elk steak or something, and I'll be like, and I got to admit, I'm not a Ranella. I'm not, you know, Remy's a great cook, but I'm like, I'm one of those guys. I want a slab of meat. I'm going to put it on the grill. It's going to hit 120 degrees, whatever, and then I'm going to eat it. You know, I mean, it's like, I don't want to spend my time preparing food. I just want to eat it. And so some of the stuff I cook doesn't taste that great. You know, and that's where it's like, but it's meat, you know, and it's meat that I killed and meat that I brought home, so I'm going to eat it. But to her, it's like, oh, it's a waste of time. So, you know, if I spent more time preparing it and aging it and doing whatever needs to be done with it rather than just cooking it and eating it, she might taste it, but who knows?
So she doesn't eat your game meat?
No, I cooked one time where I was like, babe, this is the best. It was tenderloin from an elk, you know, and granted, I cooked it on the grill like I probably shouldn't have, and it was doused with barbecue sauce. I mean, I couldn't tell because I was like, I want this to taste exactly like beef, which it did. And she chewed on it, took one bite into it, and spit it out. Blah blah blah. And of course, my boy sees this, so he's like, I don't ever want to eat deer ever again, Dad. You know, because Mom spit it out. And it's like, no, Mom just doesn't like it, but.
That's funny.
I don't know what it is.
That's interesting.
I hammer her on it all the time. I'm like, babe, just try it. But she's like, you can't even cook that in the house. You know, don't even cook it in the house. So it's
she won't let you cook it in the house?
She will. I mean, she will. It's not. I mean, I wear the pants around there. Damn it. You know.
But he's gonna try to reclaim power here.
Like, please let me be the man. No, but she's like, if you're gonna cook that, go outside. So it's like,
that's funny.
I'll put it on the grill and I'll chew the crap out of it and I'll eat it, and I enjoy it.
Well, my wife grew up in a hunting family, so she's used to eating like wild game. She likes it, and our kids have been eating it since I started hunting 2 years ago. So when my youngest daughter was 2, it was like the first time she had deer. So she's been eating deer since then.
Yeah.
Like they'll eat anything.
Oh, my kids have been raised on it. I mean, they've eaten more wild game than a lot of kids, I'm sure. And they just don't know. You know, it's the same. It's meat. When we cook meat, it's meat. Whether it's a deer, an elk, you know, chicken, whatever. My 2-year-old, everything's chicken. More chicken. You know, and it could be a buffalo for all. It doesn't matter. Everything's chicken.
Yeah, it's a weird thing where people have this this connection with some animals are like your friends, and some animals like you should never hunt this. Like, I have an agent. She's a very nice person. She loves animals, but she told me, "Oh, I don't mind if you kill pigs. Wild pigs are disgusting. They're so ugly." Like,
my wife's like that.
She's like, they're ugly. You can kill them because they're ugly. I'm like, is it their fault that they're ugly?
That's the thing that kind of it ticks me off, because like the network promotes this apocalypse crap. You know? And here's the thing, a little background story to this. I grew up on a farm, obviously. At one time we had a hog operation. We had hundreds of pigs, you know, whatever. But like, I have a love for pigs. I love animals. They got personalities. They're really cool, you know. I mean, they're cool. And so when I see somebody who will remain nameless on a TV show shoot one arrow through 2 pigs, and that's okay. But yet if I shoot one arrow through 2 deer, you know, even if it's legal, or 2 whatever, it's not okay. And then the very next minute shoot, you know, a weanling 10-pound pig in the head with a pellet rifle and watch it sit there and flail on the ground, that's bullcrap, you know?
Well,
because I have a relationship with that hog, with that little pig, where it's like, don't show me that. Do it. You can do it. I don't care. Don't show me that. You know, don't show public that, because to me, I think the worst enemies for hunters and hunting television are hunters and hunting television. We're our worst advocate. And I say we, I lump us all in broad strokes. But it's like there's so many out there doing things that, yeah, it's the reality of it, but it's not what needs to be seen. You know?
I know what you're saying, and I'm going to explain it to people who don't know what you're saying. There are certain shows, and there's one show called Pigman. And
I wasn't going to say it.
I said it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I said it.
Sorry, Matt.
Anyway, Pigman, what they're doing a lot is population control rather than hunting. And they are shooting animals, but they're shooting animals that have overrun these farms. So some of them, when you were saying apocalypse, what they're doing is they're getting these helicopters. We've played video of it. It's the craziest shit ever. Of him and Nugent up in helicopters with fucking automatic rifles taking out pigs like en masse. They shot 450 of them or something in a day once. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen. These pigs are running, and then boom, headshot as they're running, they're tumbling. And it's not about, like, we're going to go out and shoot an animal, harvest it, and then use it and eat it and, you know, and show the hunting lifestyle. No, it's like it's a murder fest.
Yeah, it's like pigs have a pass because of what they are, you know, what they're doing. I mean, because they're causing probably billions of dollars in damage to crops and that. So it's like pigs have been removed from the game animal category.
They're vermin.
Almost. It's like it's like a coyote.
They're varmints. Yeah.
But I will say, probably on those shows, I guarantee they have to. You know, that meat has to be used somewhere, taken and donated and processed. They can't just leave them lay. I mean, that's.
I don't think so. But when you're dealing with 450 of them, do they even have the resources to gather up all those pigs?
They better, because if they're shooting that many hogs and they're not doing anything with it, to me, that's bullcrap.
Yeah.
They've got to have the resources, just like in New Zealand. When they go in and cull out, you know, the wild deer and that in there because there's no predators, they have the resources to go in with a chopper and pull it out, and they harvest that meat. So if they're shooting 450 pigs, bastards better have a way to keep that meat, because that's ridiculous if they don't, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you, because it's a massive waste of great meat, too.
Yeah.
Wild pig is absolutely delicious. It's really good for you. It's completely different from domestic pig in the way it looks, because these animals are eating all kinds of different natural things, roots and grasses, and they're not just eating grain. It's not like white. It's not like a white meat. Like, that was the thing, that they had this thing, pork, the other white meat. You remember that campaign? If you ever see a wild pig, folks, it's not white. It's not white at all. It's fucking red. I mean, it's not as red as a deer, but it's a dark meat.
Yeah.
And it's because it's healthy.
We should invest in a barbecue house and just go in, put a barbecue house in Texas, and then just go kill all the wild pigs and use that to get all your meat.
Well, that's what Pigman does.
Is that what he does?
Yeah.
See, I saw that.
That show he had.
I was going to call it that stupid series on Discovery Channel. Here I go
Say
again,
it.
hacking on it. It's like,
don't worry about it.
Well, I saw this. It's like, you know, the whole concept behind it's cool, but it's just, you know.
Well, it's a reality show.
They were doing that. They were killing the hog and then going and providing it to this.
He had his own barbecue place. Yeah, which is a great idea.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's totally legal. At least it might be in
Texas. You can't sell wild game.
Yeah.
Like if I kill an elk, I can't sell it.
Yeah,
you know?
Which is a good thing.
Yeah. But I can donate it, and I tell you, the amount of traveling and hunting that I do, I donate a lot of meat, you know, in a lot of different places.
Yeah, I would
imagine.
A
lot of hunters do.
Yes. But don't you think that, like, wild pigs, if they became a revenue source like that, if they had a restaurant, that, I mean, if they have an animal that is so completely overpopulated and overrun that they don't have any tag limits, which pigs are at right now, you could just go and shoot fucking pigs all day long, and they'll be happy for you, including California, which is like one of the most liberal states ever, which has all sorts of crazy regulations on animals that need to be culled and aren't. Like, there's real issues here with mountain lions, and there's a real issue with people that don't want people to hunt mountain lions, and they don't understand how ridiculously overpopulated these fucking things are getting, and these poor people that are running farms have to deal with these animals coming in and just decimating the population of their calves, you know, the game animals, like the people that will tell you about when mountain lion hunting was legal in comparison to now, and then the deer population levels, there's no comparison.
Right.
I mean, they're fucking everywhere, man.
Yep.
At Tejon Ranch, where I've been pig hunting before, the guy who was our guide told us that he has a trail camera set up over this water hole, and he got 16 different mountain lions on camera. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, do you know how many deer a mountain lion's going to eat in a week?
Yeah, like one every couple days.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how many mountain lions they have, and it's because you can't hunt them.
Yeah.
And that is when you have a predator that you can't. If we're going to be the stewards of the land, which is what most people look, if you're going to accept that we have regulations on game, we have regulations on fish that you can pull for the ocean, we're supposed to be managing the population of these animals in a smart, intelligent way, and that's good conservation. But when you remove some animals from that management simply because of public opinion, non-informed public opinion of people who are animal lovers, that's ridiculous. You can't do that. That's contrary to the very nature of conservation in the first place. Conservation isn't simply, we need to preserve the habitat and give these animals food and make sure their water's not polluted. Sure, that's most certainly a part of it. And for people who don't know, hunters have been responsible for way more money that goes to conserving wildlife habitat, conserving wetlands, than any other group by far. It's not even close. No, like, tree hugger conservation group has come close to generating the amount of money that has gone into conservation as hunters have. But because you're controlling populations of deer, controlling populations of elk, pigs, all that's good. But you got to control fucking predators too. Yep. And they're realizing that now in a lot of these states where they reintroduce wolves. And people are fighting against people hunting wolves. Like, you better fucking go online and research those giant super packs of wolves in Siberia that storm a farm and kill 100 horses, and no one could do a goddamn thing about it because you've got 1,000 wolves. Can you imagine being in a fucking farm and you're looking out the window and you see a pack of wolves just tearing apart horses, and no one could do anything about it? Well, that's what happens when shit gets out of line.
And that's the way wolves work, too. You know, they'll generate those super packs.
There's a great story from World War I where the Russians and the Germans had a ceasefire. They were in the woods in Russia. They had a ceasefire because so many of them were getting killed by wolves.
No way.
They would send out these packs. They would send out these parties would like search parties at two men at a time, and they would never come back. And they would go out and they'd find their clothes torn apart, covered in blood. And then they realized, oh my God, these guys are getting taken out by wolves. They were getting targeted by wolves. So when they would have small numbers, these guys had rifles. Yeah. They were fucking soldiers, and the wolves were eating them. I mean, and so
let's stop talking about wolves.
Wolves are fucking scary,
dude. Talking to a guy that spends a lot of time in the wild alone.
Tell me
next week I will be camping where there's a lot of wolves by myself. And it's
where are you going?
I'm not afraid of bears as much or mountain lions or anything. Wolves scare the crap out of me. You know, wolves and lightning. I don't know what it is, but
what is it about wolves?
Wolves, because there's so much unknown about. There's so much unknown about modern wolves. We know about wolves of history, old. And in times like that, when there were super packs and all that, well, they're just now being reintroduced, and there's a whole new generation, my generation included, that we don't know and understand wolves and how they hunt and how they are evolving. And so to me, there's just so much eerie about them, so much unproven. I could be that first guy that does get attacked and killed by a wolf, that's there, because there's more people now too. So there's more of a chance of a wolf being conditioned to people or public than there ever has been before. So I think that it's a different animal today than it was 100 years ago or 200 years ago. And the thought of me or a hunter somewhere in there, you get a pack that's just in the wrong mentality that maybe hasn't been hunted that much or hasn't been pressured that much because you're way back in the wilderness. They may be a little bit more aggressive than what you would like, so they just kind of creep me out a little bit.
They should creep you out. In the 1400s, there's a story called the Wolves of Paris. Have you ever heard that story?
No, I haven't, yeah.
Wolves killed 40 people in Paris to the point where people had
that's
to...
right. In the city itself,
of Paris, they had killed 40 people. And there was a man-eaten wolf pack in 1450, and the animals entered the city during the winter through breaches in its walls. This is so crazy. And this one, they had eventually they had cornered the wolves, and they were killing them with stones and spears in front of the Notre Dame Cathedral. It's a fucking crazy story.
That's like taking coyotes of today. Because there's coyotes roaming around here, probably, somewhere, and turn them into wolves. If that's a wolf in that environment, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, even scarier because they're obviously a lot bigger and creepier. But people throughout history have had real issues with wolves. But today we associate wolves with being dogs. We think of them as dogs. Like anybody would hunt a wolf as an asshole. What do you think the Little Red Riding Hood story, why was that about a wolf? Why was that about a wolf? Why is it the big bad wolf? Why is the three little pigs and the big bad wolf? Because wolves were a fucking issue. You'd go into the woods and the thing you'd be worried about was wolves.
Yeah. Do you want your kid not to be able to walk to school because there's wolf roaming the area, you know, or whatever? It's like, yeah, I don't know.
But people don't want people hunting wolves. It's one of the biggest blowbacks.
Well, it goes back to what you just said, you know, said earlier, and it's not exactly the same thing, but you're like, you don't care what lifestyle people lead as long as it doesn't affect you. Same concept here. People don't give a crap about other stuff as long as it doesn't affect them. Mm-hmm. So it's like we all fall into it a little bit. Is we can be hypocritical and say, you know, I don't like this and I don't like this and this because that's going to affect me. But if somebody wants to, if they want to go out and do this, that's fine. I don't care. You know, so they look at it as, well, I guess I don't know where I'm going. I just kind of lost that too. Well, nice.
No, but
it's like
you're right. Like the people that don't interact with those wolves.
Yeah,
like,
don't
I
kill
don't want
wolves
you
because the wolves don't hurt me.
Exactly.
The wolves don't bother my kids walking to school, so don't kill the wolves. Well, yeah, but, you know, my kid might get pounced on by a mountain lion because we live in the rural countryside, you know.
Well, not only that, you have to keep their populations down for the health of all the other animals that are around them as well.
Yeah.
Like they can start decimating wildlife populations. They've done that with elk. They've done that with deer in the areas where they've been reintroduced. The numbers of elk have drastically receded.
Dude, I'm from Idaho, man. I know that full on. The valley where I grew up, I mean, in the late 90s, early 2000s, I mean, elk, it was elk hunting heaven. There was elk coming down in eating out of our cattle feeder, you know, right at the back of mom and dad's house.
Wow.
You know, there was elk everywhere. And the hunting was awesome, and they weren't bothering the crops or anything. Well, then the wolves come in. Can you picture a herd of elk, you know, and all of a sudden there's a real big dog over there. Oh, that's a big coyote. The coyote starts picking them off, and it takes them quite a while before they learn and condition themselves that, hey, that's not a coyote. That's something different. So those herds were just standing. They were just, it was like a turkey shoot.
They had
never
been
experienced
around
wolves. No,
yeah.
They'd experienced mountain lions, coyotes, and bears, which don't hunt like wolves do.
They don't hunt in packs.
So a pack of wolves comes in. They think there's the damn coyotes again. Whoa, where'd Jimmy go? You know, what's going on here? And the next thing you know, it takes them years to condition themselves to where now elk hunting today is different than it was 15 years ago because the elk act differently. I mean, there's certain instances where it's similar, but they're a different animal to hunt today than they were 20 years ago.
Have you ever been hunting in any way and had a kill and had to keep a predator off the kill?
Yeah. So I was hunting deer, whitetail deer, actually in northern Idaho with a bow. This was in like 2008, 2009, something like that. And I was filming the hunt. You know, this was before I started the TV show, but at that time I already had the concept of solo hunter in mind. So I'm filming everything, and the light gets dark, and so I go to take the camera off the arm that I had, and I flip the switch, and the camera down the bottom of the tree, crushed. So I was like, crap. Well, then a deer comes out. I'm like, well, I'm going home tomorrow anyway. So I grab my bow, thump the deer, and I'm sitting there, and the deer kind of goes over and starts to do the wobble thing. Well, next thing you know, a bear pulls up, a black bear comes up and takes the deer down and immediately pulls it over this hillside. And I'm like, that was pretty dang cool. I was more mad at myself than awestruck because I was like, I dropped my damn camera out of the tree and I could have filmed that, but so I was more like just upset. So I thought, no big deal. I'll just climb down, go down, spook the bear off, get my deer, go home. No big deal. So I go and I'm trailing this deer, and all I've got is my flashlight in one hand and my bow in the other, and I can hear the bear sliding it down the hillside, and it's a pretty steep grade, and I'm like, bear, making noise, doing whatever, because I'd have experiences with bears, and it wasn't that big of a deal, but then everything got quiet, and then I was like, and where I screwed up was I picked up the phone and called my wife. Hey, babe, I'm trailing a deer. I'll be home tomorrow. What's going on? I'm like, oh, this bear took it. And I was like, oh, stupid. Why would you say that? Because then from then on, I was like, ah. And so from then on, my wife's been freaked out about bears. But so I'll finish the story. But so I'm trailing. All of a sudden, things get super quiet. I'm like, ah, good. The bear just kind of ran off. I'm going to go find my deer. And I stood up on this stump. It was kind of a logged area. I stood up on this stump, and I'm looking around with this flashlight, just kind of panning around, looking for the deer. And all of a sudden, I heard just kind of a noise. I'm like this, right at the base of that stump. That bear was on top of that deer, and he's just like, whoosh, he just hoofed one time.
How far away from you?
Oh, 4 or 5 feet, 6 feet. I don't know. I mean, it was close.
Oh,
right. I mean, I'm standing on the stump,
Christ.
and he's on this side, on top of the deer. So I just kind of jumped back and went back up. I'm like, what was I thinking? Going after a bear that just took down a deer that thinks that's a deer he just took down, so he's going to be like defending it. And I was like, you stupid fool. You should have just, it could have been over right there, you know?
Right.
So the next morning I go in, no big deal. Daylight, the bear doesn't have, doesn't have big cojones during the day, I guess, but he just ran off. I grabbed the deer, and I have that on film. Actually, if you look at the first Solo Hunter episode, it's episode 101. It's got that where I kill a deer, but then I do a flashback of the year before when I was filming that hunt, and I've got my little handy cam that I filmed. You can see all the scratches all over the deer, and you can see where the bear had eaten it out from the hind end and all that kind of stuff. So,
how much of the deer did the bear eat?
He had only eaten part of the hindquarters. They always go in through the butthole and through the soft tissue, but you could see where he had scratched it up and where he had drug it down and just ate part of the hindquarters. But for the most part, the deer was fine, salvageable. So I just cut him up and took him home.
So when you have an animal like that another animal is eating part of it, do you worry about it being contaminated in any way? Is there any concern?
I didn't even think about it there. I mean, obviously you're cooking it above a certain temperature anyway, but I didn't even think about that. I don't even know, honestly, if that could have been an issue, with a bear eating the meat. I don't know.
You think
anybody out there know if I could have gotten sick?
Do you cut
Maybe
around
that's why
it?
I have troubles getting out of bed in the morning.
Something's wrong with my eyeballs.
Yeah.
Do you cut out around the airway?
Yeah, I cut all, but it's just, I don't know. I didn't even think about that.
The rivets that I told you about, the guys up in northern Canada, they shot a bear and it was getting dark, and so they went back in the morning to recover it, and another larger bear was eating it while they got there, and they're like, oh, great.
That's crazy.
That's a real issue up there, cannibalism. Cannibalism is standard.
And it's just going to get worse, as the numbers increase. It can only get worse, can't it? I mean, until they get disease or, and have a die-off. I mean, because nature has a kind of a way of taking care of itself. I mean, before man came along anyway, there was how many millions of buffalo roaming the countryside, and I'm sure there were areas where a disease or something was spread and there was a die-off, and so the herds moved off and split off, and that's kind of how animals maybe moved across the countryside is different elements of nature that happened, So we look at this as we're like, I'm on this earth for 80, 90 years, hopefully. Well, that's nothing in evolution of animals or in the how a herd or certain species might evolve in an area. An elk herd could grow up to a certain number and then it could have a die off because of sickness. Then it could grow again. Well, that might take 100 years, for that process so for us to actually see that population curve. But then that's when you start talking about introducing the wolves. That population curve takes a big dive quick, but
what was the logic behind reintroducing wolves?
Bureaucracy, I guess. I don't know, because wolves are cute and cuddly and they want them in Yellowstone because it's a park, but there's no fences around Yellowstone. I didn't know that. Did you know that there's no fences around Yellowstone? I mean, grizzlies the next thing. We got grizzlies in Idaho that are starting to cause issues, and there's all kinds of instances in Montana, and that grizzly's the next animal to start causing issues, I believe, just because for some reason now it seems like nature is at its prime for bear populations to grow. You look at bear numbers, hog numbers, all these populations of animals numbers are continue to steadily grow massively. And I think that's just the natural curve of where we're at, that if we weren't involved in managing it or anything, it had hit that precipice where diseases and cannibalism and all these things would take over, and nature would curve itself back down to get sustainable numbers. Or they would just eat themselves out of home.
When you stumbled upon that bear, and that bear was like 4 feet away from you with the deer, did you just back out of there?
I just backed away. Yeah, I was just like, whoa. Went back up and then slept in my truck that night, and then the next morning I just kind of went around. I brought in my gun, and just a couple shots on the hillside. The bear runs off. You get the deer.
Did you ever watch that show, The Hunt?
I did. I watched 1 or 2 episodes of it, and my problem is I look at it, I'm ruined because as a producer, I watch everything as a producer rather than as a viewer, and so it kind of, I hate that because I can't ever watch something and get true entertainment out of it or true value out of it.
Well, yeah, I know what you mean, but it was badly produced, in my opinion.
I agree.
I felt like, first of all, they kept using this fake bear sound, the same sound over and over again. They would interject it, and you knew that they were interjecting it because all of a sudden, like, there would be like a shaky camera.
Why is a bear going to be growling and roaring? A bear's going to be damn silent until he's ready to kill you.
And they would do it over and over again right before they cut to commercial.
Yeah.
Like, so they like to get you to like tune in. Look, the camera's shaking.
But you know what? I guarantee everybody watching that's like, "Whoa, bears make noise in the wild." And that's the problem with shows like like that they're putting on the mainstream. There was one called Chasing Tails on there for a while on A&E or one of those, where it's like everybody associates hunters as flannel wearing, overweight, middle-aged, bearded men. And we're not. We're businessmen. We're regular people. We're whatever. There's all these types of people that are hunters and that are outdoorsmen, but society sees us as Bubba.
Well, in movies too, they're like,
it's
remember
that's
that
how it's portrayed.
Wolverine movie? They were assholes that had poisoned the deer.
Hunters are assholes.
Bears.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know.
Yeah.
But drunks, they're usually drunk. You know,
and that's because it's the same concept as Disney portrayed animals as people. So we think of animals as people. Well, Hollywood and whatever else portrays hunters as
the dumbest, the most simple-minded.
When in reality, you look at the science and the management behind conservation and wildlife conservation. It's not stupid stuff, It's
not stupid stuff at all. It's very
stupid
calculated.
Stuff is contraceptives for deer. That's stupid stuff.
Yeah, that's birth control for deer that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars when deer are delicious.
Yeah.
So they're running around instead of just having hunters come in and shoot them with bows and arrows or crossbows, whatever. You could to control the population like that. It would only take a couple of weekends, and they could do big and get a lot of meat out of it. But instead, they're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and give them birth control.
What do you think is the answer for people what is it going to take for if you've ever convinced somebody that hunting is okay? What's the answer? What's the main thing? How can we educate people to where it's like, hunting is not what you've been taught or what you think it is or what certain people say it is?
Well, I try to do it. Well, I'm not trying to educate people, but in discussing it and people listening to these discussions, they kind of get a more nuanced, balanced perspective.
Right.
And I know for a fact that there's a lot of people that post on my message board that have talked about how they had one opinion of hunting before the podcast and a completely different opinion of it now. And they also never factored in the hypocrisy of wearing leather, having a leather couch, leather seats in your car, leather jacket, and then complaining about hunting. We're disconnected, and that disconnection has led us to be like spoiled little kids. We don't understand where all this is coming from. We don't have a direct interaction with the food itself. And when you do have a direct interaction with the food itself, when you've killed the animal yourself, the whole process is a completely different thing. I'm eating an animal that I stalked, shot, butchered, sliced up, put into packages, vacuum sealed it, put it in my freezer, thawed it out, cooked it, ate it. From A to Z, it's been in my hands. And that's a completely different experience than 99% of anyone who eats meat is ever going to have. And I encourage people, I think if you could do it, if you have the time, I think a lot of people don't know where to start. That's one thing.
Yeah.
They don't.
I've got some friends right now. There's 3 of them that are just starting out hunting. Last year they killed their first deer, and it's funny it's not, I say funny. It's interesting to see their evolution because they're like searching YouTube for everything. They're like, well, how would you do this? How would you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I just do it. They're like, well, they had to search on YouTube to find out how to gut a deer. And so they have this little video clip of them gutting this deer and trying to take it all apart. It's the funniest thing, but it's like, well, these are grown men figuring it out on their own. There's nobody out there to teach them. There's no schools that are just like, hey, you want to be a hunter? Come to my school. Pay tuition, do this. And it's like, if you want to learn, it's got to be hands-on. You've got to have a mentor. Or you've got to have, because I get emails like that all the time. How do I get started? How I live in Arizona and I hunt these mountain ranges. How do I find the deer? Because I spend countless hours trying to find deer. How would you hunt this area? I don't know. I don't live there.
Well, you'd have to. That's a lot of information they're asking for too. You'd have to go there. You'd have to tell them. And how much do you know? You'd have to explain to them what deer habitat is, where they nest, where they bed, rather. Yeah. And there's also, it's interesting, but it's sort of, there's a comparison to be made for you learning how to use computer software to edit video. You just taught yourself. If you want to do it, you just got to kind of figure it out and teach yourself. And the cool thing about today is you can watch those YouTube videos. Back in the day, what would you have done? You've gotten a book or something and try to look at the diagrams.
Do what I did. You start cutting
bloody hands and
start cutting, stuff comes out.
And you can fuck things up like that. Just start cutting, right?
Yeah.
You could,
mess yourself up. Yeah.
And you get the tarsal glands all over the meat and smell like shit. And there's a lot of people that ruin meat because they don't understand the proper preparation and how to take care of it once they actually kill an animal. Yeah, there's a lot to it, and I think talking about it is real good. I think it's important to have guys like you on, and Ranella and Cameron Haynes and Jim Shockey when he comes on, so people get an understanding of who these people are that actually are hunters, that they're not those flannel shirt wearing yokels that you see in these really cartoonish and caricature. What's the word? Caricature. Why am I saying turature? Caricature. The caricatures of hunters, these cartoonish shitheads.
I think you're smart by having somebody like Shockey, because he's a different person than me or Steve or Remy or Cameron. You know, we're different than what he is. He's something special in that even if you took that man outside of the hunting industry and put him into something else, if he was an oil man, or say if he was a cattle man or whatever, he's got a personality about him and a philosophical way of speaking and knowledge about him that he's going to educate people just based off of what he knows and how he's going to say something. I mean, he and I could say the exact same things, but the way he says it, you're going to be like, damn, I get that. The way I say it, you're going to be like, the guy's a fool. You know,
Tim, you're a little hard on yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to build up Shockey here. I mean, I know the guy needs every bit of it he can get, right? You know, guys like me, we got it all. It's like, no. What I'm saying is I'm glad you're having him, and it's definitely a podcast I'm going to be tuning into, because I like his philosophy behind not only hunting, but life, and also behind, you know, family and everything else.
Yeah, I do as well.
I think he's a great person for that, you know, and I think that's the type of person that, for broad society, is your spokesperson.
Well,
somebody
I think
like that
Ranella is a great one as well, because he's so well read. He's a great writer, and
super educated,
and a guy who really truly cares about environments, really truly cares about hunting, really truly cares about conservation. And he's a guy that's in fucking fantastic shape. I went hunting with him, and the one thing that I was blown away with is how physically demanding hunting is. Like hiking, I looked at hiking and I'm like, that's for fucking people who don't really work out. A bunch of pussies.
It's just walking, but uphill.
It's
no different.
fucking hard, man. Especially when you're holding a rifle, so you're not swinging your arms. You got a pack on. Like, you get exhausted quick.
Did you have to pack your deer out, or was it like in an area where you didn't have to break it down and put it in your pack?
What do you mean?
Your deer, when you hunted in Montana, did you have to break it down and pack it out on your back?
Yeah, well, there's three of us. It was me, Callan, and Ranella. So my friend Brian Callan. Okay. So when we went to get my deer, we shot it that night, gutted it, took the liver and the heart, cooked that night, and then put it up in a tree. We hung it in a juniper tree. So we went there to get it in the morning because it was kind of late. And we had seen some mountain lion shit in the area. It was kind of disconcerting. Nice. This big ropey shit filled with hair.
But the mountain lions have been hunted in that area, so they probably wouldn't even come close to you. So.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Good. I don't like those fucking things. Yeah. I've seen 2 mountain lions. In my
Have you
life.
really?
Yeah.
You haven't. Here, well, you're in California, I guess.
No, never shot one. Yeah. I lived in Colorado.
Yeah, you did. I saw the picture on all the social media. Come on, man.
I killed it with a belt.
Yeah. That's what I heard.
So silly.
I heard you took your gi off and strangled it.
My own sister asked me if I killed a mountain lion.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck do you think? Kill a mountain lion with a belt? You can't even kill a house cat with a belt. Try to get a house cat, hold on to that fucker, and kill it with a belt. That thing will scratch your eyes out.
Yeah.
It's a 150-pound house cat. Are you fucking crazy? I've seen 2. I saw one in Colorado. Really briefly. It's just like both of them have been about the same size, like 60, 70 pounds, like dog sized. And the other one I saw in Montecito, which is like a residential area in Santa Barbara. I was driving down the street. We saw this thing run across the street. And at first we thought it was a coyote. Then I saw the tail. His tail's like bobbing around. I'm like, oh shit, that's a cat. And it had more of a bouncy way. Like coyotes have that sort of stiff, fucking creepy,
scared to death
shitty way of running.
You ever seen a coyote sleep?
No.
That's because they don't. They're too used to getting shot at and chased down. Can you imagine being a coyote? That's like the worst life ever.
It's a sucky life, other than like a rabbit.
I'd rather be a rabbit than a coyote.
For real? Because people have rabbits for pets?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're dirty. They're stinky fucking little animals. I got a coyote cushion at home, like a pillow that's covered in coyote skin. It's gross. It's like sleeping
So
on
why
a
do you
dog.
have it?
My wife bought it. It's not mine.
She's like, I like coyotes.
Well, she ordered like a couple different kinds of animal skins that were converted into pillows, and for whatever reason, she hates coyotes, so for whatever reason, she got a coyote one.
Yeah. She's like, babe, I brought home this this animal skin couch. That's a sheep, babe. It's a sheep tarp.
Well, we have chickens. We have 24 chickens, so we have this fenced-in area where the coyotes are trying to figure out how to get to the chickens. So we'll find them near our backyard all the time. And she loves these chickens. She takes care of them, so she particularly hates coyotes because they're always trying to figure out a way to sneak in. You know, and they've killed dogs in our neighborhood before. You know, they'll snatch one off a leash. I have a friend who lives in Brentwood, which is another residential area, and his neighbor was walking her dog. She had like a little dog walk, and she heard click, 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 click,
No
click,
way.
click, 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 click. She didn't know what it was. She thought it was like a dog, you know, behind her. And the coyote just ran up, snatched the dog right off of her fucking leash, and ran.
That's a hungry dog. That's a hungry coyote.
Yeah, it was running away with her dog. Like the dog was just trying to, and she's screaming, and the leash is being dragged behind, and it's just running with her dog.
Oh, it's
You
sad.
know, yeah, sad and weird. It's
Yeah.
weird that those creepy predators are wandering around, and it just decided to bust a move. Like this is the time.
Yeah.
Time to
Yeah, I
take
got
that
bit
dog
by
out.
a coyote.
Did you really?
Yeah, yeah. I was, I don't know,
Trying to fuck it,
11
and it just
yeah. No,
didn't like
11th
me.
grade. 11th grade. It was,
Whoa.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but I was doing the dishes and look outside. It was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm looking. We lived in a trailer park, so the trailer next door, there was a coyote underneath there, just batting around, playing around with some toys and all kinds of balls and stuff. So I get out, and I had a 22, go around the back side, and I see him, and he jumped up at the clothes on the clothesline, and I rifled like 2 or 3 at him, and I missed. He ran straight into the woods. I went back in. I had a freaking rabbit call, like a distress call.
Whoa.
I shot back probably 200 yards. And I got up against a tree, and I started blowing that freaking thing. And sure as shit, that thing came running right at me, and he backed me up against the tree, and I lift my foot up, and he latched right onto my boot. And I shot him point blank, and I emptied out the whole entire clip.
Whoa.
Yeah. And the thing smelled like skunk really bad.
Smell like a coyote.
But yeah,
Probably eaten a couple
there's a
skunks.
lot of hair missing off of it. But though it was weird because that week before I had two little dachshunds in the family, and we used to let them outside, no leash. They go take a shit, come back. Only one came back, and we think that maybe he may have taken.
Yeah, most likely, right?
Yeah, we never got it back.
Last week in Silicon Valley, a mountain lion viciously mauled a 6-year-old boy. Some kid was hiking with his parents, and the kid was behind them, and a mountain lion came up behind, attacked the kid. The parents yelled at it and screamed and chased after the mountain lion and just like tried to hit it, and it dropped the kid and ran off, but the kid got fucked up.
Yeah, I heard that.
They scared it away, but so then they set hunters loose on this cat and dogs and everything like that, and they this is another issue that they have with mountain lions in California because they're not hunting them.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy, and it's crazy how people have this idea that they're these beautiful things, and they are beautiful. They're interesting. They're fascinating, but you got to keep those fuckers in check. You know, and that's a real issue with people that don't understand wildlife. They just have these liberal points of view that's based on no reasoning, no logic, not a balanced perspective, no real true understanding of wildlife. Their understanding is just based on what they think is right, what they think is, leave them alone, there's natural animals. Yeah, and then you go hiking, and you're going to get eaten, you fuck. Do you understand that? They're big, giant monsters. Yeah. If those were werewolves, you would be sending packs of fucking military people in the woods to try to kill the werewolf. Well, a mountain lion's way fucking scarier than a werewolf, because it's not just a mountain lion one day out of the month. Okay, the wolf man turns into the wolf man when the full moon comes out. Mountain lions wake up every morning a mountain lion.
I'm a mountain lion. I'm going to kill something.
And they kill big things with their face. They're used to killing deer and elk and shit that runs really fast, and they kill it with their face. And you're content with those things wandering around because they just look beautiful. That's ridiculous. I'm not saying that we should wipe them off the face of the earth, but we should come really close.
There should be like 4 left.
Yeah, 4 left.
All of them in Oklahoma. You know,
with
leave them in
radio
Oklahoma.
yeah, leave them with Oklahoma with tags on. That we have a group of scientists that are monitoring their
exactly.
progress on a screen. Whenever they come anywhere near a person,
Because
send a
really,
drone in.
Zap 'em.
hunters. I think hunters would be glad to take the place of the mountain lions and keeping the population in check for
Yes,
sure. But-
yes, and eat that meat and use it for people. I'm on team people. I like people.
Team man.
Team human.
That's right.
Yeah, like people way better than other animals. I think animals are amazing.
No.
People are way better. You can talk to them. They make you laugh. You hang out with them. They're our species. You breed with them. They live in your neighborhood. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous
You
that
can breed
there's
with animals.
you can't though. You can't. You can breed them, but you can't. Even if you fuck them, nothing happens other than you get happy.
I promised my wife I'd keep everything straight.
Impossible on this show.
I know.
Did you promise her?
No, I didn't promise her. I told Mark. I'm like, Mark, when we get to talking, I have a tendency to dip a little bit. I'm like, you need to keep me on that level plane. Don't let me
What
go.
does that mean? Dip what?
I like good humor.
Tim can get raw.
I can't get raw.
Are you worried about your perception, the perception of people?
No, I'm not worried about my perception of people because people are going to think of you what they do,
Right.
But I worry about me. I have a perception of myself that I like to maintain.
Right.
But, which has been, and I believe it is what it is. When you meet me face to face, it's the exact same as when you meet me anywhere else.
Well,
I'm
you're
not
the
gonna
same
act
guy
any
from that
different.
show. You're the same guy from your show.
Yeah, I think I'm more of a badass in real life than I am on the show. Honestly.
In what way?
I watched back of the editing, like I'm combing through some of the footage that I just filmed last week. I'm like, man, I got my guts hanging over my belt, and I slurred over my voice and everything, and I'm like, I just don't look tough, and I'm like, I'm tough.
Whenever you say it like that, I'm tough,
man.
It's tough to convince
I
people.
I don't have that, I don't have that deep raspy voice and stuff. So it's like, yeah, we're all tougher in our own minds.
You don't have to project an image. Everybody thinks they do, but when you try, it's just a mess.
If you try to create your brand and who you are and what you think you want people to think of you as, you're just gonna be a doof.
You're a douchebag.
You just got to be yourself.
Yeah.
So.
I like how you went with doof, but I know what you were trying to say.
Because I didn't want to go. I didn't want to dip.
on
I
the
wanted
plane.
to keep that even plane.
It's a douchebag.
Because I did post a picture today, last night had the word douchebag in it. And
Did
so
you?
I felt,
You got in trouble?
No, I just kind of second thought it a little bit. I'm like, I just posted that. Should I have done that? And it's like,
What's wrong with douchebag?
because it's really how I feel. It's really how
perfect.
I felt about the man. So it's like that.
Who was the douchebag? What was it about?
He's running our country, So
Obama?
It was a bumper sticker on
dare
this
you.
truck. It said it had douchebag with the president's emblem as the O, and then underneath it, the guy was selling his truck, so he had written in soap for sale. So I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, douchebag for sale. Click, and so I post this, not even thinking, and it's like, oh, is the CIA going to come after? Because I've seen stuff that guys post or whatever, and they're like, they shut down my Facebook page or whatever, and it's like,
They can do that, and it's so weird.
can, but-
if you criticize the president too harshly, or if there's any threat whatsoever of violence, like I'm going to kick the president's ass, they'll come after
They
you.
should too, though.
Yeah.
You know what? They should. But so because I'm a nice guy. I'm on the outward side. I'm a nice guy. At home, I'm a nice guy. Whatever. But I'm a badass on the mountain. I'll tell you that.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. The Second Amendment is a funny issue when it comes to Obama, because there was this they had this recording of him doing this speech and talking about guns, and he was talking about how people want to keep their guns. They're never going to let you take their guns. And I'm like, what a weird thing it is where people, representative government, where people are elected, they get into a position of power, and then they look at people and they say things like, they're never going to let you take their guns. They're going to what are you trying to do? Like, why are you trying to take their guns? If you're just a person, and what you are as a president, yes, you're the leader of the country, yes, you're the commander-in-chief and all that, but essentially you're just a person. Right. So if you're a person, why are you trying to take away other people's guns? Do you think that people shouldn't have guns because they're all dangerous? Because statistically, that's a real tough
Statistics
argument.
don't matter to people like that.
I know they don't.
They don't care.
Well, that's why those people are ridiculous. Anybody in that sort of a position that has that sort of a point of view, like, if you're going to be the fucking president of the United States, you got to be able to back up everything you say with logic and science. And if you look at the amount of people we have in this country, there's 350 million motherfuckers in this country, okay? Not all of them are motherfuckers, but some of them, good and bad. 350 million people in this country. There's probably 350 million guns.
Half of them are gun owners.
Yeah.
Statistically speaking, half of them are gun owners.
Probably. Then look at how many people are actually getting killed by guns. The number is ridiculously low, which means that most people are really good at controlling themselves. Most people have cars, and they don't just drive into crowds of people. But some people occasionally do. If enough people do that, are we going to take away cars?
The thing of it is like you could have those people sitting here across from you, and you can be explaining to them, and you can have the statistical data, and you can have the proof and the facts and everything. They're still not going to care.
They don't care
because there's more to it than just doing what's right and doing what is statistically fact. There's always an agenda behind it. There's something that they want to push. Well, is it control? Is it that they just want to control people, or what is it? Who knows? But when you look at everything that like the government is doing, and even small things of something as simple as giving out 12,000 bayonets to the police force, what are you trying to do? Create your own army? Are you waiting for a civil war? I mean, what's going on here? Why are you buying? Yeah, they provided the armies or the local police, and I'm probably speaking out of turn here because I don't know all the facts or whatever, but it's like 12,000 bayonet. What do you need a bayonet for anyway? This isn't the World War II
we're not
or whatever. Yeah. But then it's like, well, you bought how many millions of rounds of ammunition? So it's like, well, there's all the conspiracy theories and all that kind of thing, but you sit back and you think, you're like, why are they doing that? What's going on here? What are they trying to create, or why did they decimate, the military? Why did they fire all these commanders that did such a badass job of taking out the bad guy? Why did you pull out of Iraq? Why did you do all these? There's always something more to it than just fact and data and numbers and what's right and what's wrong. It's man, there's power, hunger, or something to it.
There's a lot of public
to me. There's
perception
something
issues.
Freaky about it. There's something sick going on that I don't get.
In what way?
It just nothing makes sense. Wouldn't you think that if you're the leader of the country, you would do things that the majority of people would think make sense?
Like what doesn't make sense to you?
I think what doesn't make sense to me is pushing, like, say, take the immigration issue. I heard a statistic the other day, whether it's right or wrong, that 9 million people in the greater LA area, potentially half of them illegal.
There's more than 9 million people here, right? And there's like 20,
it was like the greater
20.
LA city area. So it was a smaller, whatever it was. They used the number 9 million. They said potentially there's up to half of those are illegal, or not documented, which to me is like, well, that's one city. But why would they allow the people to come across the border just so openly? And now it's like, as a parent, I have a kid in school, and if they're putting these people and busing them all across the country and letting these people go in school without even asking their ages or having to go through medical checks like my kids do or any of those types of things, it's like, what's the reasoning behind that? It's not humanitarian. If you were humanitarian, you'd block the damn border off and not let people come across and experience all that, suffering. But then as the humanitarian, little bit of humanitarian that I have in me, it's like, man, if I'm in that position, I'm coming across the border too, and I'm working here. I'm providing my family with a better situation. Yeah. But as a managing government, managing a country, to me, it just doesn't make sense that you would allow open borders.
Well, I don't think it's totally open. I mean, it's difficult to get over here. They risk their lives. It's very tough and I know what you're saying, but I also think that politically, if you want Democratic votes, the more lenient you are towards people coming across this border, the more lenient you are towards illegals, Latinos, giving them rights, giving them education, giving them the ability to drive cars or maybe even possibly vote, that's going to be very advantageous if you're a Democrat. If you're a liberal and if that's what your agenda is, that's what you're trying to pursue. It's interesting in Republican circles, Cubans are almost all Republican. I mean, there's a massive, not all, obviously, but like Miami has a large population of very conservative Latinos. It's a completely different sort of environment. Very Republican, very conservative. It's a completely different setup than they have with Latinos or Mexicans in LA. And a lot of it is to do with what they've experienced in Cuba and, how the hardships that they encountered in a communist land and coming over to America and realizing the opportunities and what you can accomplish here. And what's going on with Americans and Mexico, the disparity between California and Mexico is so vast and the distance is so small that it creates this really weird environment where, like, I was in San Diego a couple weeks ago and I was joking around about how nice everybody is in San Diego. And one of the reasons why they're so nice is because you can walk to a third world country. Like, they know how good they got it.
Right.
If you want to get confused, you want to think that, hey, man, the world's all shit. No. You're in fucking San Diego, dude. This is awesome. Let's go for a walk. You and I are going to walk. It'll take us about an hour. We'll be in Tijuana, and then you're going to see something that's not good.
Right.
You're going to see this is what happens when you don't have taxes and the United States government and the school system that we have. This is what these people are trying to escape. And as a human being, when I go there and I see that environment, I want to say, hey, they should be able to do whatever the fuck they want. They should be able to come over here, but they also should be able to figure out someone should engineer that society better. Someone should figure out how to make that culture at least as accessible or as advantageous as the American culture. I don't know.
Right. And I think that's where I'm talking, where is they should be doing that rather than just saying, well, if you can't have it there, come here and do it here then.
Yeah.
For the individuals. Because you can't in Mexico do it. As an individual,
yeah,
I'm doing exactly what they're doing. I'm
would
coming
as well.
across and I'm working and I'm doing whatever I can to provide for my family. And we know and interact, there in Reno, I know and interact with a lot of people that within some of the churches and stuff where it's like they've come here to better their lives, and you can't hold them it's hard to look at them and say, well, yeah, but you broke the law, so you got to go back.
Right.
You can't do that.
No.
Because you want, as a whole, you want people to have what I have. You want people to be able to succeed. It just sucks that their country doesn't see that, and hasn't done that. But does that mean that our country has to have liberal open policy or relatively open policies where they're like, if you don't have it there, come here, we'll give it to you.
But they don't really say that, though. I mean, you do have to go through the border, and it's fucking hard. It's not easy to get from Mexico back to America.
Probably not as hard as it used to be.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm a guy that spends a lot of time in the wild. I'm not going to say that I could get across the border, but kids, women and children and people are getting across. They're getting across, and it's got to be hard. It's got to be difficult. And some of the stuff that some of those kids, have gone through, and that is devastating. It's just, it's disgusting. You wouldn't want to ever have to have your family have to go through that process.
Also, we're a nation of immigrants. This whole nation was started by people who came from someone they didn't like and decided to try to make a better world here. And at what point does that get closed off? At who is that available to?
I don't think you ever close it off. You don't ever close it off, I don't think.
But it's hard for people that come from Mexico to legally immigrate to America. It's very difficult. They make it hard. And you have to have some reason why they should have you here. If you're a scholar and you're coming from Norway, it takes time. You have to go through all sorts of checkpoints. There's a lot of things have to happen. I've had friends from Canada that wanted to get green cards to work in America. And white people that speak perfect English, that are well educated, and it's hard. It's not that easy to get a green card.
I'm just glad that I produce outdoor television and I don't have to deal with it, or I don't have to do it, or manage it or that kind of thing. Obviously, we all deal with it in wherever we live in that, but
it's weird when you got half the population's illegal. What do you want to make half the people criminals? There should be some sort of a way that they could, contribute as well, because a lot of them are not paying taxes. Well, so it's more advantageous to make them citizens.
Didn't Reagan do that for how many million? 9 million or something? They said, okay, amnesty. Everybody that's here. Yeah, I believe they did. Reagan, I thought it was Reagan.
It's not a bad idea.
I'm just going on what I heard off the radio. I'm just the uneducated white hunter guy, Bubba. But it's like, they did that at one time, and now it's built up where there's almost no way around it, that they're going to have to do it again. And unless there's stop measures to keep it from happening again, it's going to be 20, 30 years down the road, it'll happen again.
It's a compassion issue in a lot of ways, because when people are in an undeniably shitty environment like, Juarez, Mexico, and they want to get out and they see San Antonio's right over there and everybody's
I'm doing the same
great.
thing.
I would do the same thing. Yeah, it's the real issue is why are borders there? Why are nations there? It gets real tricky. It's a very complex issue.
I'm gonna keep hunting. I'm just gonna keep doing what I do.
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna try podcasts. I'm just gonna do what I do.
When you're on top of a mountain with just a camera and a rifle, How many cameras do you take when you go do that?
You know, I used to take several. Now I just take one main camera, which I use a DSLR camera that'll take stills and video, and then I have one GoPro. But
that's it?
Anymore, I find that I don't use the GoPro hardly ever. The main reason I'm using the GoPro now is because I had so many people calling BS on me. They're like, "There's no way you're filming that. You've got a cameraman, whatever." I'm like, I'll show you. So I mounted a thing off the back of my camera, my main camera, that is just basically a stick that I have a GoPro on. So you can see me. I mean, there's an instance in one of the episodes that was on this year where you see me like fumbling. I have to take a lens off. I put another one on. I spin the camera in the GoPro. You can see the elk coming up. And then you see me reach up, focusing it, turning it, clipping onto the bow, and then shooting it. You know, like everything happens just that fast. And it's like, there, take that, stick it in your ear. You know, I filmed this all myself. But it's become kind of a personal challenge that way, where it's like, yeah, it can be done, and it adds more of a challenge to the hunt. And to me, it's in a case like that, I didn't get nervous about making the shot on the elk. I just drew back. I didn't even range it. Drew back naturally, just boom. And the same thing happened with a deer that year. Same thing. Drew back, boom. Because my brain was on the cameras. My mind was on what I had to do with the cameras to get everything right. And so hunt mode was natural because I'm a natural hunter. I grew up as a hunter from the time I was a kid. So that motion just took over. Whereas if the cameras weren't there and I'm just thinking and I have time to watch that elk come up and I'm clipping on and I'm like, okay, where am I going to shoot him? And I'm trying to range him and get a distance. And you're trying to do all these things that you're supposed to do as a hunter. And then it's in your head that you've got to do all this. And so when you anchor back, your mind might not be right. You might be nervous. I might be shaking. Because there's been times where, I mean, elk's coming in. I'm literally just shaking. Whether it's an elk or a deer, and I'm just physically I can't control it.
Jacked up with
because it's like, it's almost like a fear, adrenaline, holy crap, this is happening, whatever. I mean, I remember as a kid sitting in a tree stand for elk, and the guys that taught me how to bow hunt, I was 13 years old, and they're like, yeah, the best way, just go get in this stand and just wait for the elk to come into the water hole. Well, shoot, I'm a 13-year-old kid up there by myself, and you hear this herd of elk coming in. So you have 50, 800 to 1,000-pound animals coming in, screaming, chasing each other, and just, you just freeze. And I was shaking so bad that platform on the stand was like, and I was like, hold it together, man, hold it together, man. And it's like, that's what you get when an animal comes in. And I don't know what gives you that adrenaline rush. Is it the fact that you can kill it? I don't think so. I think it's just the fact that this wild animal is getting close, it's something.
Anticipation. Yeah, it's just there's so many factors. Same
thing when you go, you're getting off the ski lift and you strap on the snowboard and you're going to go off this one run that you just looked at as you're coming up the hill. You're like, I'm going down that. And then you get there and you're like, holy crap, this is scary, man. I don't know if I want to do this or not. But I think it's that feeling.
The elk thing is more so even.
I get more out of it because that's more me. I get more of a thrill out of elk. And it's, hunting and golf, that's kind of my two things outside of family. And it's like, I get excited over that. You hit just a killer iron and you're just watching that thing fall and it's just kind of cutting into there. And you're like, you get that feeling a little bit that could go in the hole, or that's going to get close. That's kind of the same thing. But with hunting, it's like that much more amplified because it's a live thing, it's a live event and you don't have any control over that. That elk could come in and do whatever.
Yeah, anticipation and build up for one moment, and also the amount of work involved in getting up there, and it's like all for this one moment. Ready? Don't fuck it up. Don't fuck it up.
But what people don't see too is on TV. I posted a comment on Instagram the other day. It was like, for you guys' information, hunting's not as easy as it looks on social media and on television. Which to me is a simple comment, but people are like, oh, that's so true, blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, I might be on the mountain for 9 days not seeing an animal. Like on that moose hunt, I saw one moose before I shot my moose. So you're there for 10, 12 days not seeing anything. All of a sudden, there's a moose, bang. Whoa, crap, that just happened. It's like, wow. So that's hunting. That's the reality of it. Whereas on TV, you see 6-8 minutes of me traveling. And I was, oh, dang, he killed a moose. That's awesome,
That moose show was wild. The one where you shot the moose and then it started floating down the river.
Yeah, he wasn't in the river, but yeah, he was in the marsh. So where he was standing, it was like knee deep, and then he kind of went back in the willows, and so I had to actually go in the willows and pull him out because the boat, we tied him onto the boat and tried to get the boat to pull him out, but it wasn't happening. So I had to go in and filled my waders. I'm just tugging on. It's on the video. I put the GoPro on my head, and I had to basically leverage and get this moose broke out of the willows to where the water was deep enough where it'd float. And I don't know how I did it physically. I don't have.
How much does it weigh?
Oh, that's a 1,400 pound animal.
God,
that's a big animal.
Damn, 1,400 pounds.
I don't know how I did it. It had to have been adrenaline, because the moment we got him and tethered to the boat and floated over the sandbar, I was. People don't realize I was closer to death right then than any other hunt that I've ever been on. I was so hypothermic that I had to get off the boat, and I literally just took all my clothes off and just piled on one dry coat that I had and a pair of pants, and I ran up and down the sandbar back and forth, because it started out like kind of a hunched over little trudge, and it took me about 40 minutes before I generated enough body heat to get myself out of that hyperthermic state.
Whoa.
Because I was so cold, because I was so excited about the moose that I just jumped in, and I'm like, yeah, look at my moose,
and you're
whatever.
In the water.
My waders filled up, everything, and you're in water that's, just comes off of the glaciers up there, probably 34, 35 degree water, maybe a little warmer, I don't know. I didn't have a thermometer, but it's damn cold. So it just got me so close to the point where my body was starting to just really get crazy, and I was not thinking right. The only thing that I could think of, because everything was so wet, was just to run. And so I just ran up and down the sand, just back and forth and back.
And you're
and
by
forth.
yourself?
No, I had Ted.
You had that one
Ted
guy
was
and
with-
that
yeah,
one.
one guy. Yeah.
Wow, that's scary as fuck, man. Hypothermia kills a lot of people. It's a lot of folks
It's
don't
a
know.
slow killer. Yeah, you get to the point. That's why I tell people, I'm like, it's a lot easier to stay warm than to get warm. So if you start to feel a chill, put a coat on. Don't get yourself wet.
The other thing about hard hiking too, when you're hoofing it up the mountains, is you start sweating.
Yeah.
That's why wool's so important. People don't. Many people who don't go into those environments and don't understand like how you can start sweating when it's really cold out, don't know how great wool is.
Yeah, wool's awesome.
Amazing.
I like there's some great synthetics out there too that wick the moisture away from your body.
Mm-hmm. Like wool, same
Well,
way.
I like, I grew up as a wool guy. Everything was all wool, 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 wool. Well, a lot of synthetics, they'll pull it away from your body and then they'll dry fast.
Really?
Wool's going to pull it away from your body. And the cool thing about wool is, even when it's wet, it's going to keep you warm, but it doesn't dry real fast. Whereas the synthetics will pull it away, but then they'll dry fast too.
Why does it dry faster?
It's just the fiber, just the fabric. I don't think it holds the moisture as well, but it pulls it away.
It's like a more closed off moisture.
Wool is still
or,
amazing
fiber.
because if you can't get dry, wool's still going to keep you warm.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, but it's heavy and bulky. I mean, I don't know. There's some good stuff. You guys mentioned First Light. That's some amazing stuff. But I've grown to where probably about 10 years ago I moved away from wool and into synthetics, just because the technology was there that started getting better, and then
Because it's lighter.
yeah. Now I'm with Under Armour, so it's obviously.
And Under Armour,
But even them, they've got some clothing that we prototyped this last fall that was a kind of a wool acrylic blend. That was pretty amazing, pretty good stuff. So.
really. A wool acrylic blend.
Yeah, we
Is it
just
lighter?
announced. Yeah, it's not necessarily. It's similar texture and feel to the wool, but you combine that with some of the synthetic base layers and that, and you just got a really hardy, durable fabric that can be, replicated and printed on and all kinds of different things. But
That's a consideration that you have to really plan out, right? Like how much weight you're carrying. Like how much stuff do you actually need?
you take what you need, and that's it. I mean, there's no reason to take any comforts. I mean, that's one of the things that I probably should be better at. Like, I hate sleeping on the ground. When I hunt, I'm miserable. Like at night, I basically just roll from one side to the next, because I can't sleep, because I'm like, I'm not taking that 2-pound pad. I'm gonna take the 16-ounce pad instead. Thinking 1 pound. Well, it's like, I've got 7 pounds around my stomach that I'm carrying around that I shouldn't be carrying around either.
Right.
But we all get so caught up into the weight that, you kind of neglect certain things. And that's important when you're going on a backcountry pack trip where you're going to be in several days, and that weight's a big deal, because when you start hiking up a mountain, you're just thinking, I mean, I know I do, I'm thinking in my mind, what could I have left out of my pack? What could have made this trip lighter? Because if you don't have a pack, it's a lot easier to get up the mountain. But you got to be comfortable, or you're going to hike your butt back up the mountain.
Do you
too,
wear
so.
like a lightweight boot too?
I do. I'm super lightweight boot all the time. Even in rugged country, I like a really lightweight boot. I'm the kind of guy, I've never sprained an ankle, never had any knee or any ankle issues. I've had knee issues, but that really doesn't have anything to do with the boot. But it's like, I like lightweight. I like maneuverability, and I feel more mobile. I don't like the big, heavy rock mountain boots, and I've worn them a lot, but they're just rigid, and I just feel like my legs get tired. and I just can't move. But when I have a light boot that's more like a sneaker, I don't think my legs get as tired, and I can just do what I need to do.
What I'm thinking, because I'm going hunting in Alaska first week of October, and I had these heavy schnees.
Yeah,
They're
good
like
boot,
big,
great boot.
heavy boots. They're they're excellent, waterproof and everything like that.
Yeah.
But man, I went hiking with them recently, trying to break them in. I'm like, my fucking legs get tired.
Try drying leather when it's raining a bunch too. I mean, it's hard, but that boot is made for that environment. That's the type of boot that's made for that. You know, there's some synthetics out there too that might dry a little easier than that. But I've always been one where it's like, you know, I don't have issues with blisters. You know, I don't. I'm just lucky that way. I haven't ever had to deal with that. When I wear a pair of my lightweight, you know, Under Armours, my Speed Freaks or whatever, it's like I wore them. I'm in my halfway through my second season on one pair of boots, which typically I go through a pair of boots easy in a season. But this lightweight pair of Speed Freaks, I've had it in the snow. You know, the shale.
Those Under Armour Speed Freaks?
It's an Under Armour Speed Freak.
These
ones are prototypes. I don't know if it's the actual Speed Freak. It's a prototype boot they sent me last year.
It's like a new product.
Yeah.
That's gotta be cool.
That's awesome. That's one cool thing about, you know, I've been knocking on Under Armour's door for 3 or 4 years. And last year, I was fed up. I was like, you know what? These guys are never going to give me the time of day. They're cool guys and everything, but they're looking for bigger fish. And so this is probably the first time they've heard that too, is like I got rid of all my Under Armour gear and was decked out with another brand. They decked me out everything, head to toe, everything. So I was like, I was all geared up to go on my first hunt in this other brand. And then something just hit me. My wife's like, where'd you get all that camo? And I told her the story, and she's like, what about Under Armour? And I go, I can't give up on Under Armour, can I? And she's like, you were going to give up on Under Armour? So I went to, I was leaving for my hunt. I went to Shields and I bought a pair of pants and a shirt, Under Armour pair of pants and a shirt. I went on my hunt. I killed this deer. While I was driving back, Kobe gave me a call and said, hey, things have developed. We've got some stuff freed up. We'd really love to have you guys on board. So it's like, holy crap, I just about threw Under Armour away, you know, just from that. But as a TV guy, it's like you want to have the best brands. You want to wear the best gear and everything. But on the second part of it is you got to pay the bills. You got to make it worth your while to do it, because at the end of the day, I'm not doing it because I'm a passionate hunter. I'm doing it because I'm a businessman and I want to make a pile loads of money, you know. And it just so happens to be a sport that I love and I'm passionate about, and that's going to help me be a better business person.
A lot of people don't know that Under Armour does hunting gear. They're huge in the hunting world. Yeah, people think of them as terms of other athletics.
Yeah, they're just getting. We just announced the coming soon of their new Ridge Reaper Baron camo pattern. Remy and I, and there's like 6 or 8 of us nationwide that had these prototype clothings and that wore this camo pattern. Cameron's got it as well, and they just announced that it's going to be releasing. I heard September 15th. One of the dates was thrown out, but they're going to be coming out with that at underarmour.com. The Ridge Reaper line with the Baron camo pattern. It's pretty sweet.
Do you ever go out and realize that you fucked up? You should have brought more shit.
Always.
Really?
No. Yeah. That's happened, and it's also gone the other way too, where I've gone there and I'm like, why did I bring this? Mostly camera stuff. I mean, I pack around this 5-pound, 11,000 millimeter, whatever, 1100 millimeter lens that weighs like 6 pounds. I pack that sucker everywhere, and I never use it. It's like, why am I packing that thing and my spot and scope and all this? It's like,
is there anything that you like if you haven't brought it with you, like if you gone out there and go, God, why didn't I bring this? Is there anything like dangerous about that? Have you ever taken a trip and not having enough clothing or not having enough?
Yeah,
survival shit.
I always have survival stuff with me. I carry a survival medic. It's just a little super lightweight first aid kit, but it has survival tools with it too, you know. So I have that I've got one in every backpack I use that's just there.
Like to start fires.
Yeah,
and stuff.
thankfully I rarely have to use it, you know. And if I do use it, it's just more just for fun to start a fire or something, but it's there if I do need it. I don't know when I've run into a situation where it's like, man, I wished I would have had this or that.
Because it's such a unique style of hunting. So few people do that way, where you go completely on your own.
Well, and I grew up hunting with nothing. You know, I had a bow with piece of crap arrows, and it was the cheapest thing we could find, and I hunted with that same bow. The bow that I bought when I was 14 was the first, I think I might have been 15. I bought that bow. I hunted with that until I was till I got into TV, till 2004.
Was it a compound or
compound bow? Barely. It was a Polaris, a PSE Polaris that I bought that bow. It was like $109 or something.
100 feet per second?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe. Who knows? But I hunted with that thing, and then I got back, out of college. I was hunting with that thing, and I hunted with that clear till 2004 before I got a Matthews bow. And I'm like, holy cow! There's a 12 years, 15-year span of time there that I hunted with a piece of crap. And so I think that by me learning to get by with so little, that it makes it easier for me when I do have good equipment. I can appreciate it that much more, and it's like I can get by with just good equipment.
The world of hunting
I don't have to
bows,
have gizmos and gadgets.
Right. Compound bows that's the one world where 10 years makes a giant leap.
Yeah.
Whereas like with rifles, 10 years ago, it's a rifle. Scopes are a little better, but rifle's essentially a rifle. Bullets are bullets. But the bows of 10 years ago in comparison to the bows of today, they are making these little incremental leaps like every year where they're getting a little bit lighter, a little bit more feet per second, a little bit more accurate, a little bit better tolerance. It's really kind of interesting to see the technology that's involved in compound bows, both for target shooting and for hunting.
Yeah, and it's interesting. The bow company that I deal with G5 and Prime is like, G5 is an engineering firm. They're an engineering company. So if anybody's going to know how to make something better and get the most out of a piece of iron, it's an engineering company. It's somebody that has that background. So that's what's really cool about them. And these companies are smart. They're not just going to just blow their wad on all their technology all at once. They're going to incrementally bring it out so they can have a new bow every year. And that seems to be like the craze right now is every bow manufacturer has 1 or 2 new bows every year. And it's like, man, how do you keep up with that?
Right.
How do you keep up with technology? But as a hunter, I'm kind of addicted to that. It's like, yeah, I like this bow, but in October, as soon as that new prototype bow comes out, I want it in my hand, because we're addicted to that new, bigger, better, badder, just like the iPhone 6. Mark was telling me about that, and I'm like, you were mocking the iPhone 4? Yeah, I got an iPhone 4, You have
an
I've
iPhone
had it,
4
I've had it
with
for like forever.
With a crazy lens attachment that you put on your, I've seen that too. You put it on a spot and scope and you can film it, right? What is that called?
This is a phone scope adapter, and I've just gotten used to having it on my phone. Every once in a while, I'll take my phone out and put it back in my life-proof case, but then I reach in my pocket and I'm like, where's my handle? I'm missing my handle. But this is just an adapter. It goes onto a bayonet mount sleeve, so I can slide it over my spotting scope.
And you can zoom in, you can video.
Yeah, take pictures, and what's cool is you shoot a little video clip or take a photo, and bam, you post it to Instagram, wham, you're done, and that kind of stuff.
That's pretty cool. So you take a photo straight from the spotting scope.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, digiscoping with it. And I just leave it in the case because, my phone, I just like having that handle. It's just kind
convenient.
of convenient. Yeah, I love it because when I take it off, I'm like missing it. And it's not that I don't use this phone scope other than when I'm hunting, so it's like...
When you were talking, for folks that don't know what you're saying, you were talking about ranging. These laser rangefinders are another really cool invention where you look into it, you press a button, it tells you the exact yardage. And for people who've never been hunting with bows before, never shot a bow before, they don't understand that, like, there's a big difference between a scope on a rifle. A rifle's pretty good for a couple 100 yards, but a bow, there's a big difference between where it's going to hit at 20 yards versus where it's going to hit at 40 yards. And all of this is sort of crazy calculations on feet per second and where your yardage pins are. And it's that was one thing that I really got into when I started playing with bows, was how much you have to learn. Like develop a sight tape and and arrange things out and figure out like sighting in your bow and making sure everything's tuned up, and there's so many weird adjustments that you have to make between 20 and 50 yards, and how difficult it is to shoot something at 50 yards. Yeah, just a target.
You don't have a steady rest or a bipod like you do with a rifle. I mean, the bow, you've got your arm that's not very rigid to begin with, holding it out there, and you've got your other arm back here, and so you're trying to anchor it. So
and no magnification either.
No, you can't. There's some magnification scopes out there, that you can put on there, 1 or 2 power, or 6 power, whatever.
Do you use those?
Your pins. I don't. I'm so old school when it comes to my equipment. I mean, it's like I'll take a bow and I set up all my own equipment. I don't take it into the archery shops because everybody has their own way of doing things. But I do it the way I learned. But I'll just put a peep sight, sighted in. Guys are all wrapped into these super long range sights. Well, I'm a hunter, so I need a sight that's going to go from 20 to 80, and I'm good. I don't need 120, 150.
So you mean these rolling
yeah, it may be
sights?
fun to shoot that far, but I don't. If I want to shoot that far, I go get my MOA rifle and I shoot that far. It's like...
Well, I learned from Cameron. Cameron does all of his hunting with bows and arrows.
Yep.
And Cameron Haynes...
Never heard of him.
Uses a spot hog.
Who? Never heard of her. Cameron Haynes?
You keep doing that
Is
same
she a
joke.
hunter?
You're going to have to let that go. We're almost done here.
That's like my joke.
But do you use a multi-pin sight?
Yeah.
Do you?
I do. Yeah. For the longest time, I just used a single pin sight. But once I started really filming my bow hunts real heavily, it just became too much to have to adjust the pin.
Mm-hmm.
So I just went to the multiple pin sights again so that I don't have any adjustment on the bow. I can focus on adjusting the camera.
When you said that you just sighted in the animal, you didn't even sight it in. You just looked at it and you just took an estimate. Mm-hmm. Is that something that just comes over time? Like you look at something, and go, that's about 30 yards.
Until I was 25 years old, I didn't use sights. It was all instinctive. So every time I would shoot a bow, it was fingers and it was bare bow instinctive. Even though it was compound, everything was instinctive. And so I think it just ingrains into you, if you're a traditional shooter or whatever, when you draw back, you're like, your body, just like shooting a pistol, your body automatically gets into that position. And more times than not, if you'll draw back and get in that position and then look at your pins, you're there. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you've done it a lot and you're conditioned to that. And I think that's where your instincts kind of take over. And in those cases, I drew back and you just look at your pin, verify, bam, and you go. So you're still aiming, but because you're not thinking about it, it's happening so much quicker. They say that's, what some of the sharpshooters, that's why they're so good, is because it's just all instinctive. With pistols or anything else, they're not aiming, they're just shooting.
There's a lot of practice involved in bow hunting too, right?
I've had a bow. I started bow hunting at 12, 13 years old. I have had a bow in my hand my entire life, basically. Just because of my upbringing. I'd go out to do chores, you grab your bow off the freezer, you walk out, fling a couple arrows at the carpet target that we had taped onto the haystack, and you go milk the cows, you walk out, you pull your arrows, you do it again. It was a lifestyle. It's life for me growing up that way. I shoot less now just because of the busyness of life and the other responsibilities I have, but it's still part of it. And it's natural. So for a guy picking it up, for you to go out and be able to experience that instinctive anchoring and everything is just dialed, it's going to come over time. And there'll be times where you might go out next week and you're like, man, I know what he's talking about. That feels good. And then the next day you're going to be like, what the hell am I doing wrong? This just isn't working. And that's archery. That's the nature of your bow. Your wrist is going to tweak. Things are going to change from day to day. So don't feel like you have to adjust your bow every time you go out and shoot. Just be like, yep, today I was pulling them left. Today I'm dropping them out. No big deal. Tomorrow will be different.
Well, that's the cool thing about archery is how difficult it is. It's so involved that it sort of takes away all the other things in your life away. It takes away all the other things you were thinking about, all the other distractions in your mind. You're so concentrating on putting that pin, holding it steady, making sure you release, no added movement, no twitching, no pulling. And I find it almost like meditative in that way. No. That when I do it, it cleans my mind out. I love doing it at the end of the day. I have a busy day. Sure. I go out in my yard. I pull out some targets and start shooting. And I feel like it's a nice stress reliever too. Even if people never want to hunt, I recommend doing archery just for fun.
And get a bow and do it instinctively. You should get a recurve or get a bare bow and just go out and just do it close, 10 feet, and just get that feeling of just release.
Do you think that helps your
It helps. It'll help
archery?
I believe so, because I grew up that. I mean, that's how I did it. And to this day, I think it's made me a better shooter in a hunting situation.
It's tricky to hunt with a bow because more animals get wounded and escape bow hunting than probably any other style.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the statistics. I mean, there's a lot of deer get hammered by a rifle too and walk away. It's hard. It's hard to say. There's just that many more rifle hunters out there. Bows are tough because hemorrhaging is lethal. Hemorrhaging is. I mean, you can shoot. I shot a bear in the ankle one time. In the wrist, bled out within 80 yards. Hemorrhaging is super lethal. Whereas a bullet doesn't necessarily have to give you hemorrhaging. It can give you puncture and impact and shock and trauma, but it doesn't necessarily hemorrhage.
Not the same way because of the heat and everything gets cauterized and
could be. So I don't know. I can't say for sure.
Yeah, I felt I had a massive responsibility to put in a lot of practice before I ever went bow hunting. Yep. And I mean, I fucked my shoulder up because I was shooting 150 arrows a day.
Well, don't pull the Cameron Haynes, is it? Don't pull the Cameron Haynes and shoot a 90-pound bow. Shoot a 70-pound bow. All you need is 70.
Is that all you need? I had a 70.
All you need is 40, 45, you know?
But do you? Because what if you hit a bone and then the animal runs away? Cameron has this philosophy about well, he's an interesting
he
guy.
has his philosophy, you know, and that's great, and it works for him. Sweet, and it's
Ted
awesome.
Nugent has the 45-pound philosophy.
He's got whatever he's got. Ted Nugent's got his.
What do you shoot? A 70?
I shoot mine at like 63 pounds or something. Yeah, I mean, I'm a strong guy. I can pull 70, 80 pounds, sure.
But you choose to do the other one.
Yeah.
Just because it's more convenient.
I'm more accurate. I found that with my arrows and my broadheads and my setup, I take my bow and I max it at 70 pounds. And as I'm sighting in and tuning my bow, paper tuning or whatever, I back it off a quarter turn at a time, my limbs. So you're taking the weight down. And I found that 63 to 65 range for me and my setup, I'm getting bullets. Just,
yeah, Cameron's like does all these crazy workouts just so he could pull it effortlessly.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But he's into like shooting water buffaloes and shit, and getting pass-throughs on giant elks. You know, that's his whole deal. Listen, man, we're out of time.
Sweet.
That was 3 hours.
That's good because I got to take a leak.
I bet you do. Go take it. You had a great. This is great, man. Solo Hunter TV on Twitter. What's your Instagram?
At Solo Hunter TV on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Everything, the whole deal.
Yep.
Tim Burnett. Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you,
that was
man.
fun.
Appreciate it.
It was really
Awesome.
enjoyable.
Yep.
And watch the show. It's on the Outdoor Channel. It's called Solo Hunter. It's one of my favorite hunting shows. It's a really enjoyable show. Even if you don't like hunting, it's very, very, very well done. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to DraftKings.com. Go to DraftKings.com. Enter in the promo code Rogan to play for free and become a millionaire for real. Go to the website, check it out. You will be blown away. It's amazing how much money you can make with fantasy football these days. What else do we have today? Ting. Thanks to Ting. Go to rogan.ting.com and save $25 off of any Ting device. And thanks, of course, to onnit.com. Go to ONNIT and take part in human optimization. Use the code word Rogan and save 10% off any and all supplements. We will be back, ladies and gentlemen, next week. I got Rupert Sheldrake, Graham Hancock, and others. Until then, enjoy your weekend. See you at the Ice House, and big kiss.